St. Louis. It's time for a little NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series action.
Taco 9 wants to get back into victory lane.
After a few weeks off, these drivers are ready.
How about that pass now?
Ready to win the 5th race of the 2006 season. Ready for the turns, the curves of the gateway to the West.
Gosh, this is incredible! They're big!
They hit the wall!
It's time for them to move.
Here we go again!
The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, live from St. Louis.
Welcome to the gateway to the West for race number 5 of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Speech coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series pre-race show is presented by Craftsman. Big story today, obviously weather. We've had rain throughout the morning, then it stopped for a while. The temperature dropped to 61 degrees. Winds have been gusting from 40 to 50 miles an hour in this area. The Framit point standings after 4 races, Mark Martin up on top, 720 points, 55 back is Ted Musgrave, our 2005 defending series champion. Let's go trackside for today's pre-race activities.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, for tonight's invocation is Reverend Raymond Dessard, chaplain of Amhart Hospice.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to share in your love and joy and peace. And we just pray that for wisdom for each driver, that you just might protect them as they drive and just let us enjoy everything that they do. Bless their crews as well. And be with our armed forces as they're overseas serving. Just protect them and bring them peace also. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
And now, singing the national anthem of the United States of America, contemporary Christian band, Max Power.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Moisture in the area, a low pressure system sitting just on top of St. Louis, meaning we've got high winds and the potential for precipitation at any time. Speed's coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series pre-race show is brought to you by Craftsman. Craftsman tools are the official tools of NASCAR. Craftsman at Sears. Ted Musgrave has been dominating this one at Gateway International Raceway. As he comes out of turn number 4, he will see the checkered flag and become the first ever repeat winner at Gateway. And dominant, maybe not a strong enough word for what Ted Musgrave did here a year ago, leading 158 of 160 laps. Rain continues to fall in the St. Louis, Missouri area. Hello, everyone. I'm Rick Allen alongside of Phil Parsons. Now, obviously, the rain, the big story. The other big story is because of the rain, qualifying was canceled. We set up the starting lineup based upon owners' points for 2006. That means David Reagan gets the pole tonight, Phil.
Well, he does have a little bit of experience at this racetrack. He ran a Truck Series race here a couple of years ago, but we have 16 drivers making their first ever Craftsman Truck Series start at Gateway. A lot of inexperience from the very front of the field with David Reagan all the way to the very back of the field. But we've got a lot of veterans and a lot of former winners in this field. We've got Ted Musgrave right beside David Reagan, a two-time winner here, the only two-time winner. And we have the hottest guy in the Truck Series over the past year, Ty Bardine, who's finished first or second in 10 of the last 13 races. So a lot of experience up and down the field.
Well, you mentioned 16 first-time starters here at St. Louis. St. Louis is a little bit difficult of a track as far as the configuration. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, it really is. The corners are quite a bit different. As you see the point standings right there, David Reagan starting on the pole by virtue of the truck owner points. The truck was driven by Mark Martin the first 4 races, but there's turn 1 and 2 right there. It's a very, very tight turn. These guys will use as much brake as they have getting in that corner. Here's tight turn 2. These drivers have to get these trucks turned in the center of 1 and 2, get on the throttle, make a good exit on turn number 2, because that carries you down the back straightaway. If you don't make a good exit on turn number 2, then you don't carry any speed down the back straightaway. As a matter of fact, until a couple years ago, all these trucks would shift on a lot of them on each straightaway here because the corners are so much tighter than the long straightaways. NASCAR instituted a new rule a couple years ago that changed the transmission, so that took that completely out of whack. So these drivers would shift if they have the chance. Because they can't, these trucks will really be lugging off the corner because the RPM will be out of the range that they want to be in, so they really have to get off the corners well, both 2 and turn 4.
Well, a lot of difficulties around this 1.25 mile track. One guy who's going to have to face him first will be the guy on the pole, and he is with Chris Devoda.
Yes, indeed, the pole sitter, David Reagan. You heard me right. David Reagan is on the pole, like we said, because of those owner points for Mark Martin. So, David, you're not officially a rookie, but you don't have a whole lot of laps in this series. Can you believe that you're on the pole going to lead this field to green?
Yeah, this is pretty cool. You know, I've got a champion on the right side of me. I've got a race winner behind me. So we're going to have some fun tonight. We've got a pretty good Ford F-150. And, you know, I think that Mike Beam and all the guys have worked real hard. Definitely Mark Martin and them have put me in a good position for tonight. So we're happy to be here. I do have a little bit of experience on the track. So we're going to have some fun and bring the Scotch truck home and maybe a top 5, top 10.
Well, that experience that you mentioned, you have a Busch start, a truck start, an ARCA start at this track. You call it a hybrid. Can you explain why?
You know, this track's kind of unique. You know, it's got real tight corners. It's almost like a Darlington. You look at the layout, and one corner's a little narrower than the other. So, you know, we really had to work in practice to get it pretty equal in each corner. We're losing just a little bit coming off of 4, but I've got a lot of confidence in Mike Beam, Hal, our engineer, that we're going to run the first 25 laps. We've got a mandatory or a yellow at lap 25. So we're going to run, and we'll adjust on it as needed, and hopefully we'll dodge all the rain tonight.
Right, dodge the rain indeed. He's just a young guy, but he talks like a veteran. That's David Reagan starting on the pole. To Ray Dunlap.
Well, thank you, Krista. We certainly want to hear from the Onion. He already has a win this year, winning at Atlanta. But, Todd, when we come to this racetrack, an altogether different deal. We might see green flag pit stops tonight, and that could be the key.
Yeah, Gateway, you know, it usually has a couple yellows in the beginning, a long stretch through the middle of green, and a couple yellows at the end. So pit strategy is pretty important. NASCAR is going to throw a caution at lap 25 to check our tires because the racetrack was so green. So, you know, that'll be good for most of these teams to make sure that nothing happens. Our Toyota Tundra was pretty good today. The wind was pretty bad off of 4, but, you know, I think we got something for them, but I think the truck to look for is Jack tonight.
Okay, good luck to you. And folks, see, both drivers told us that it would be lap 25. Just to let you know, NASCAR has made an update to that. They will pit at lap 35 in tonight's race to give these guys a chance for fuel and tires if they want it. Rick?
Well, Ray, again, the big story I think right now is weather. We've had a little bit of precipitation, but the wind has been blowing unbelievably here. Pretty consistent over 20, and then they've said gusts upwards of 40 and 50 miles an hour.
Yeah, really, I don't remember seeing as much wind as we've had here at this racetrack. Our camera guys on the roof here are really having to grab hold of something. You can see the wind right there blowing that bush around. There's the flags. All the flags have been standing straight out this entire day.
Let's take a look at the radar right now, because there is a window, I think, that is going to present itself to us to get this race here.
Yeah, we're right in this area, right in the center of that screen right there. And Obviously, the stuff is swirling around us a little bit. We had a lot of clear weather here. As you mentioned, we got a little over an hour practice in, and then we caught just a little bit of rain here. Now it appears as though that rain has stopped. They're trying to get the track dry, and hopefully the stuff at the bottom of your screen doesn't come up and catch us later on.
Now, the 40 and 50 mile per hour gusts of wind, how does that affect a team or a driver out on the racetrack?
It's not as bad as at a racetrack like Gateway as it would be at a place like Daytona or Talladega, but it does affect. As a matter of fact, I was talking to Brendan Gaughan. He said there's a big opening on the backstretch where you come off turn number 2, and he said you can really feel the truck when you get to that opening because you're kind of shielded by the wall and stuff like that. And he said there's a bit of an opening. You can really feel it when you get there, and the truck will almost actually pick up speed when you get there because the wind doesn't hold you back as much.
So wind could help them. We saw the crews taking some of the tarps off of their pit areas, and so that is a very good sign, and all the drivers are strapped into their trucks. We're getting ready to race at Gateway. Welcome to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series Missouri, Illinois Dodge Dealers Ram Tough 200 on speed. Chris DeVoe, I believe, has caught up with not only defending series champion, but defending race winner Ted Musgrave. Krista.
Indeed, Ted Musgrave sitting in his truck, waiting ever so patiently for us to talk to him. So, Ted, I know you led every lap but 2. We've already talked about that in your win last year. But just to prove that wasn't a fluke, in your first win in 2001, you led every lap but 20. So what's your secret?
I don't know. The secret must be out because, you know, the Team ASC Toyota Germain Motorsports, it's in the top 5 right now in a speed chart. But to pull off a win tonight, Chris, I think I got to come up with a little ingenuity for this race.
Ingenuity. So that basically means code for you're not going to tell us, right?
Well, if I told you, everybody knows my setup sheet from last year, and it's evident. But like I say, if I told you how to win this race tonight, I wouldn't be able to do it. So I got to come up with some sly moves.
All right, well, Ted Musgrave and his teammate Todd Bodine both very quick in that only practice of the day. Ray, who have you got?
Well, Chris, I'm standing by the Red Horse Racing Toyota, and David Starr. The good news for him is he's been able to celebrate as our most recent winner for longer than any other driver, because it seems like we haven't raced for about a year now. But David, when we look back through the stats, you've got a win here at Gateway, but only led 1 lap. Pretty crazy, huh?
That is pretty crazy, but I guess that was the most important lap, was the last lap. Looking forward to the race tonight. My Red Horse Toyota Tundra was pretty good in practice earlier. We wore out a right front tire because the racetrack was so green, and we wore out a right front tire during that practice. But I think Jamie Jones, my crew chief, and the guys made some adjustments after practice was over, and look forward to the race getting underway.
Let's talk a little bit about pit strategy, because we know at lap 35 they're going to have a caution. Then you can probably run about 70 laps. That puts you in your window.
Yes, it does, but I think NASCAR is going to have a mandatory caution at lap 35 just so everybody can check over their tires and everything. I'm not real sure how it's all going to work out tonight. Just hopefully when it works out, we'll be up near the front. So looking forward to the race.
All right, congratulations on that big win at Martinsville. David Starr will roll off in truck number 11.
Well, David Starr, the last winner, which was almost 3 weeks ago, so there's been a lot of downtime for these drivers, but a couple drivers didn't have downtime. They were a part of the Toyota Celebrity Race. That's David Ruderman and Todd Bodine.
Had an off weekend and had an invitation to do this deal with Toyota does every year.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and when they offered it to us and asked us if we come, well, for sure,
The celebrities looking for the green flag for the 30th time here for the Pro Celebrity lineup at Long Beach. We are green.
Bucky Lassick takes the celebrity win, and taking the pro win, of course, Todd Bodine.
That was a blast.
It's fun,
yeah, it's fun, man. Thanks. I hate to admit this, but he passed me.
Great people joking around and kidding and getting to know everybody.
Yeah, I heard you got your little turntables out there, do a little old school scratching on the deal. No matter who you talk to, they always had time to talk with you. I think I screwed up.
What's that there?
That was Shatner. Speaking of William Shatner, I ended up hooking him.
Oh, crap. Oh!
and I came into this off-cambered turn too fast. My car just kept sliding, and I watched this barrier come up in slow motion, and then I put it in reverse and kept going. The fact that you can go too fast.
But how big a thrill was it to be able to come race with David Rudiman? Really, that's what brought you here, right?
It was, and if you find David.
To get the chance to come out here and to be the winner of the pro class, to be a Toyota Tundra driver and have this a Toyota event, it was a big deal for me.
Right now, David Rudiman is behind the wheel of his Toyota Tundra truck, but we want to talk to him about that celebrity race. So, David, how cool was that? I mean, you can race them with celebrities, these guys in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series every week, but what about the movie stars and stuff you got to race over the break?
Oh, it was great. It was a lot of fun. I mean, Toyota, had us out there and, treated us like kings, treated us like we were all stars, and to be able to hang out with those folks, that you watch on TV, it's a once-in-a-lifetime chance. We had a great time.
Okay, but you let Todd Bodine beat you. What happened there?
Well, Todd cheated. That's my version. No, Todd was quick the whole time out there, and I got together with a guy early on. I actually turned William Shatner around. I'm never going to live that down. Knocked the front end out of line and kind of ended our day a little early.
And right now, it is about time to go racing.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment we've all been waiting for, to give the command the four most famous words in all of motorsports, country recording legend, Mr. Charlie Daniels.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engine!
Saw a sign there that said, "Bring it." I think Charlie Daniels would have added that to his command call there as well. Engines are fired up. That means we're about to go racing in the heartland of America, just outside of St. Louis, Missouri. We'll be right back. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series on Speed is presented by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. Brought to you in part by Valvoline. Tested on the track, trusted on the road. And by Craftsman. Craftsman tools are the official tools of NASCAR. Craftsman at Sears. Well, it looks as though there could be an opening in the clouds so that we can get this one underway. There is no rain coming down right now, and so the jet dryers are making their final lap around this 1.25 mile track, Phil.
Very, very strange racetrack. Oblong, egg shape. Basically, you see turns 1 and 2. The very, very tight turns 1 and 2 banked 11 degrees. You see turns 3 and 4 banked 9 degrees. This back straightaway is probably the slower of the two straightaways. You run about probably 10 miles an hour faster on the front straightaway because you run about 10 miles an hour faster through the center of turns 3 and 4.
Roar just went through the crowd as the trucks are rolling out onto the track, and we look at our race analysis.
36 trucks will make up the starting grid. The race is 160 laps, 200 miles on this 1.25 mile track. The purse just under $600,000, and the pit window is somewhere between 65 and 75 laps.
Take a look at how we will line up again. This is based on 2006 owner points, and that means that David Reagan, now piloting the number 6, will take the pole. On his outside second in the points, Ted Musgrave.
Ted, two-time winner here at Gateway, the only two-time winner here in the Truck Series.
Row number 2 has Todd Bodine and David Rudiman. They were just in that LA celebrity race, and now they start side by side at Gateway.
Row number 3, David Starr, a most recent winner at Martinsville a few weeks ago, and super rookie Eric Darnell, already in the top 10 in points in his first season.
In row 4, 2000 winner of this race, Jack Sprague, and on his outside, Mike Bliss.
See, Dennis Setzer, 3 times Dennis has finished second in this race and never a winner. Back in row number 5.
Another winner here at Gateway, Terry Cook, will be in row 7.
Yet another winner, Brendan Gaughan, will be on the outside of row number 9 in the Casino Queen Dodge.
A couple guys making their first start. You saw Boris Jerkovich. Now Justin Martz also making his first Craftsman Truck Series start today.
Ron Hornaday on the inside of row number 11, not off to a very quick start. Needs to turn this season around, and he needs to do it right away.
Kelly Sutton back in the seat of the 02 Team Copaxson Chevrolet.
See Timothy Peters, he had some good practice times. He starts back in row number 15 and one of Bobby Hamilton's Dodges.
And again, the trucks did make it out. These 36 trucks were able to get out onto the track about 2 o'clock this afternoon for about an hour practice, and so they have been on the track, but at that time it was a very green track, Phil.
Yeah, you see the failed to qualify list here. That's because they never got an opportunity. We started the field, as you mentioned, by owner points from 2006. These 3 drivers did not have enough owner points: Nicholas Tucker, J.R. Patton, and John Stout. Unfortunately, they never even got a chance to attempt to qualify.
We'll ride along with a few different trucks, one of those being Timothy Peters driving the number 4 Dodge. He starts in the 29th position.
Bill Luster in the Waste Management Toyota starts in the 27th position.
Fastenal Dodge of Bobby Hamilton Jr. starting 15th. Again, Bobby Hamilton Jr. sitting in for father Bobby Hamilton, who is fighting cancer.
Dennis Setzer, as we mentioned, 3 times a runner-up here in Gateway, starts his Chevrolet back in the 9th position.
Starting 7th, Jack Sprague. Again, he has a win on this racetrack, looking for another.
2-time winner Ted Musgrave. Not only has he won twice, he's won from the pole twice, and he'll start on the outside of the front row in his Toyota.
Good vantage point from Ted Musgrave's vision. Now, that's a bad thing because the 2 times he's won this race, he started from the pole, so he starts in the front row again. It could be tough. Let's go down to our thoughts before green with Chris Devoto.
All right, guys, you were looking at one of the tarps on pit road. This is the number 30 team. In fact, they're waiting on us to talk about them. So, guys, we'll go ahead and let you roll that up. Just one of the ways the team keeps things in shape with all this rain, this wind. This is what they've done to keep the pit stall dry. All the tarps back behind the wall as we're finally hoping to get ready to go racing. Of course, this rain hurt the drivers a little bit. They didn't get as many lap times out on the track. It also hurts the crew because this wind is going to be very difficult for them. Remember, going over the wall, their job, a lot more strenuous when you're talking about 30-mile-an-hour winds. That's the kind of gusts we're probably going to have tonight, right?
Well, Krista, there's a couple other things that the wind does to these race trucks. It's going to change the number of RPMs that these guys have going down the front straightaway and at the end of the back straightaway. Coming down the front straightaway, the wind is holding them up. It's coming at you. Now, last year, these guys turned around 9,300 RPMs going down the front straightaway, 8,950 today. So the wind is really affecting the trucks and the engines. Now, also, fuel mileage is going to be an issue here tonight. We've got just about 10 points different gear than the guys used last year. That and the wind is going to affect what the fuel mileage will be tonight. A lot of these guys doing a lot of extra calculating at the very last few minutes down here, trying to make sure they don't make an error calculating fuel mileage.
Let's see if we can talk to some of our drivers. We should have radio communication with Dennis Setzer. Let's give that a try. Dennis Setzer, Phil Parsons, can you hear me? All right, Dennis, you had the 19th quickest time in practice. Did you make many changes on that Chevrolet?
No, our E85 Chevrolet's been pretty good during practice. Just trying to work on the center of the corners. We'll see how it goes here in the rain.
All right, Dennis, you be careful and have a good one, buddy.
Thank you, Phil.
A lot of the fans looking skyward, making sure that the rain doesn't start back up again. And it looks as though there's going to be an opening here that we are going to be able to get this race in, and a great crowd on hand.
Especially since we had such poor weather, as you mentioned earlier, all day long. It rained from the time we got up this morning till about noon, 1 o'clock, but these fans came out in droves.
Pretty heavy rains hitting the whole Midwest area, but looks like there's an opening here in St. Louis, and it was meant to be that the trucks would race on Saturday night just outside of St. Louis, Missouri. Again, warming the tires up. We had mentioned the competition caution. Because of the lack of track time, they will let them come in and make any changes after about 35 laps.
That's right. Most of these teams got about 20, 25 laps, and we had a practice of just over an hour. So a lot of these guys got a chance to make some changes, but a lot of the new drivers, as we mentioned earlier, 16 drivers making their first truck series start here. A lot of them had to spend the first part of that hour just learning the racetrack, and then the second part trying to work on their trucks. So it's going to be a lot of anxious moments for a lot of this field right here.
Field going down the backstretch, and when you see the pace truck with the lights not flashing, that means this time by they will see the green flag. So we're about to go racing in St. Louis, Missouri. Again, David Reagan out in front of the field. Ted Musgrave on his outside. This set by owner's points. Mark Martin with 2 wins already on the season, driving that number 6 for 14 races. He steps out of it for at least 7, and that's when David Reagan will hop into the seat. And so David Reagan leads this field out of turn number 4. The pace truck makes its way down pit road. Ted Musgrave on his outside. David James has the green flag in his hand, and we are about to go racing in the Midwest. Green flag flies, and we're underway. Great start for Ted Musgrave as he jumps out front.
I talked to Mike Beam, crew chief on that number 6 truck. He said, hey, that's the last thing we want to do is to mess up somebody like Ted or Todd. We're not going to take any chances early on in this race. David Starr's going to take a chance. He made it 3 wide past a couple trucks, Todd Bodine and David Reagan.
Todd Bodine was on the inside of David Reagan. Looks as though Todd Bodine's going to make his way up toward the front. David Starr on the outside, our most recent winner in the Truck Series, currently in 5th.
Spent several minutes talking to David Starr in the garage area, full of confidence. What a great job he did at Martinsville. Jamie Jones and his crew had excellent pit strategy. He's never been any more confident than he is right here, and he's won here at this racetrack 2 years ago.
Well, out in front of the field, a very familiar sight at Gateway. Ted Musgrave leads the first lap.
He only led 158 laps last year. You know, there were 2 laps he didn't lead.
And those were under caution. We're riding along with Ted Musgrave as we look back at David Rudeman, who moved up to 2nd on that start. Eric Darnell 3rd, Todd Bodine 4th, and David Starr rounds out the top 5.
You know, Ted Musgrave alluded to Krista that other people had his setup here. And the reason is that his team from last year disbanded. They won the championship Ultra Motorsports. They disbanded. All his people went elsewhere. A lot of the people in the garage area know exactly what Ted Musgrave ran in his truck last year.
Ray, what's going on with David Starr?
Well, Rick, just want to add to what Phil was talking about. This is the exact same truck that David used at Martinsville a few weeks ago to go to Victory Lane. I talked to him about this racetrack, and he says, you know, we consider St. Louis to be a short track. We treat this thing just like Martinsville. It's got those long straightaways and lots of RPMs. You're running a lot faster, but to get through the center of the corners, you got to handle just like you do at Martinsville.
Yeah, I think he's exactly right, Ray, because, you know, we've seen the Dodges really struggle on the high-speed racetracks this year. I mean, you run about 160, 165 miles an hour on the straightaways here, but yet they consider it a short track. The Dodgers are not at a big disadvantage like they have been on some of the other high-speed racetracks this season.
Currently, Ford being shuffled back to 5th position. It's Toyota's dominating the top 4 with Musgrave, Rudeman, Bodine, and Sprague taking over the 4th spot from Eric Darnell.
Good side-by-side battle right there. That's Brendan Gaughan, the Casino Queen Dodge on the inside. Terry Cook, the Power Stroke Diesel Ford on the outside. Looks like Terry's going to get the measure of him. There's Bobby Hamilton Jr., the Fastenal Dodge, also getting by Brendan Gaughan.
Brendan Gaughan has experience winning here. In 2003, he was able to win this race.
He told me in the garage area just before the race that he's not able to get his truck to turn in the center of the corner like he wants to. He said, once I get it turned, then the thing really hooks up, which means the back end really stays underneath him, but he's not quite able to get on the throttle when he needs to, and he's losing some positions because of it.
Looking off the back of Bobby Hamilton Jr.'s truck. Again, Bobby Hamilton Jr. in the 16th position. He started 15th, so backed up a spot. The gap just 0.2 of a second between Ted Musgrave and David Rudeman.
David Rudeman ran some real good practice times. He was actually 2nd on the sheet for the practice session, just a little bit off of what Jack Sprague ran, who was the quickest truck in practice.
Even though there are clouds overhead, we are underway with racing at Gateway International Raceway. Ted Musgrave leading the Toyota Brigade around this 1.25-mile track. And welcome back to the Missouri-Illinois Dodge Dealers Ram Tough 200. We're under our first caution just as we went to break. Problems with the number 4 of Timothy Peters, but it wasn't of his doing, Phil.
Sure wasn't. He had made a lot of contact with the outside wall. Here's what happened. Watch to the inside of your racetrack. The 12 of Joey Miller is on the access road to pit road, and he slid through the grass up to the racetrack. He forced the 59 truck of Steve Park up into Timothy Peters, and Timothy made hard contact with the outside wall. Steve Park ended up spinning out. I don't think he has a great deal of damage to the 59 Harris Trucking Dodge, but a lot of damage for Timothy Peters.
Yeah, Timothy Peters took the number 4 back into the pits already.
Watch, you see the 12 truck go down the pit road there. Watch, he's going to slide. He's too fast on the access road. He slides out. He forces Steve Park, the 59 truck, to the outside to avoid him. He runs into Timothy Peters, forces him into the outside wall.
Pretty hard crash. Timothy Peters, a lot of damage to the front right of that truck, and so he took it behind the wall, actually going to make some adjustment or try to get it back into race condition.
Remember, we've had a lot of rain here. That access road probably was a little bit damp, and once he got into the grass, once he slid off that access road, then he was like it was on ice. But he was a little too hot getting to that access road.
So moisture may be playing a role in our first caution as well, as Timothy Peters brings out the first caution with a little help from Steve Park. Green flag comes back out as we're back underway at Gateway International Raceway.
As you can see, the 30 Lumber Liquidators Toyota of Todd Bodine got by the 17 of David Ruderman just before that caution flag came out. So we've got teammates in Toyotas running 1-2, Ted Musgrave and Todd Bodine.
We've seen it before. We've seen it a couple times, actually. Daytona, Atlanta, those guys were running 1 and 2. Pretty dominant so far this year, Phil.
I'll tell you, another dominant truck is that 60 truck of Jack Sprague. All the talk in the garage area was he was in the class by himself. He is so good at this racetrack, and he was so good today, wasn't he, Krista?
Yes, he was indeed. In fact, when I talked to him, he said he was good in both turns. Remember, these turns are so different. That is the secret to doing well here at Gateway. Before that caution came out, Jack Sprague was actually running 3/10 quicker than the truck in front of him. That would have been Todd Bodine, 7/10 quicker than the leader. When the caution came out, his crew chief Tony Furr said, "Be cool." Jack said, "I am cool." Tony said, "I know, I'm just making sure."
Jack wanting to find victory lane again. Hopefully he wants to make it that 4th championship. That is his big goal, is to win 4 championships in this truck series.
Boy, it sure is. He's the only 3-time champion in the truck series. Just holds just about every record other than the number of career wins. Ron Hornaday, who is a 2-time champion, also in this field, holds the all-time wins record, but Jack Sprague owns just about every other record.
Jack Sprague currently being shown in the 3rd position, taking that away from David Ruderman. Now it's Musgrave, Bodine, and Sprague, your top 3.
One common denominator for the top 5 right now, all Toyotas. David Ruderman in 4th and David Starr in 5th. The first Ford is Rick Crawford back in the 6th position. The first Chevrolet is Matt Crafton, who just lost a spot to David Reagan and now is currently running in the 9th spot.
Phil, why are we seeing so much dominance so far between Toyota and Ford?
I'll tell you, they really have their act together. The Toyota teams work together better than any other manufacturer I believe I've ever seen. All the information that is collected by all of these Toyotas is all assimilated and given to all the other teams so that everyone knows what everyone's doing. They want to jointly combine to try to beat the rest of the competitors, and they're doing it in a team concept.
How come we see races get so spread out here? We've seen Ted Musgrave dominate here twice.
This is such a handling racetrack. We've talked about it this entire evening, how the corners are different, how important it is to get your truck turned right there in the center of the corner where Ted Musgrave had start going the other direction. And then you get down to the other end of the racetrack, a lot wider corner, but a lot flatter corner. It actually is about 10 miles an hour faster. You see a great battle right there. That's Dennis Setzer on the inside. That's Johnny Benson on the outside in the 23 Toyota. That's a battle for the 11th position right there. Dennis Setzer on his way forward.
Dennis Setzer trying to take the position away from Johnny Benson. Benson with a little bit of a run on the outside, able to keep his momentum up, but I believe the preferred line is on the inside here, Phil.
It really is. You got trouble turn 2.
Looks as though Chad Chaffin, who did qualify earlier today in Talladega and now in this truck, has a lot of smoke coming out of that number 40.
Yeah, it looks like, I'm not sure if the right front tire is down or what the situation is.
We will find out what the problems were with Chad Chaffin when we return. The rain is staying away from us in St. Louis. Welcome back to Gateway. Again, the caution coming out on lap 16. Chad Chaffin having troubles with his truck, but no troubles for the Aaron's Lucky Dog recipient. That is the 08 of Boris Jerkovich. He takes that Lucky Dog, and if Michael would have been here, I believe he would have made some comment about errands and
$99 and you can lease your favorite TVs and products or whatever. But since he's not here, we don't have to spend any more time talking about it.
Okay, we won't have to mention Napa or Burger King or Coca-Cola or
one of any of his other sponsors. Right. We won't mention any of them.
Well, we'll wish him a happy birthday, though. That comes tomorrow, and congratulations on qualifying for the Talladega race today. We ride along with Bill Lester in the Waste Management Toyota. Bill Lester currently being shown in the 20th position.
Bill has a top 10 finish here at this racetrack here at Gateway. Another one of Bill Davis's Toyotas right here.
I believe it's time for tonight's Fashion All flashback. Tonight we're going to focus on Ted Musgrave and his 2 wins at the Gateway International Raceway. In 8 truck races in St. Louis, Ted is the only driver to win more than once. He won in 2001 and again in 2005. And not only did Ted win the race, he won both from starting on the pole. Ted Musgrave and his 2 wins from the pole. A Fastenal flashback could make it 3 tonight as he sits up front. He didn't start on the pole, but he's got a chance at 3 wins.
There he is right there. He's holding a pretty wheel. He's led every one of the 19 laps so far. And he's got to go a long way to equal what he did last year, leading 158 out of 160. But the only 2 laps he didn't lead last year were under the caution. He led every lap of green flag racing.
There's Fastenal riding along with Bobby Hamilton Jr. Ray.
Guys, just want to let you know, lots of radio talk down here between crew chiefs and drivers trying to decide what they're going to do when they do come to pit road the first time. We're at lap 20 right now. They will have that caution at lap 35. Now, here's the question to you, Phil Parsons. When you come down as a driver, are you going to be willing to get tires or just fuel only? Because we know how important track position is here at 35. Are you getting tires or not?
I think, Ray, I want to get tires at lap 35, and then hopefully around lap 90 or 100, probably more like lap 100 to lap 110, hopefully catch another caution to put my final set of tires on right then. It worked, as you mentioned earlier, for Ted Musgrave last year. He pitted, what'd you say, on lap 106, and then went on to lead the rest of the race and won that thing going away.
Well, obviously pit strategy could be very key tonight. Another strategy possibly is the fact that a race is considered complete if it makes it halfway. Now, if the weather plays a role in this one, that is lap 80. So maybe you do want that track position early on.
That's right, but then that forces you to run 80 laps on the same set of tires. Now, that's a pretty long way. This is a 1.25 mile racetrack, so that would be 100 miles on the same set of tires. We heard David Starr tell us early on that he wore out his tires in practice, so that was only in about 25 or 30 laps.
Again, that was a green track, so there wasn't a lot of rubber down. They're putting a lot down now. So we ride along with Jack Sprague, third, looking to get back up front, make it 2 wins for him at Gateway.
Jack's truck was so good in practice. You see some of the trucks getting side by side back there, mid-pack on back, but right now the leaders all single file. Ron Hornaday, the 33 truck, makes a nice move, dove to the inside of Bobby East. Ooh, Bobby East tried to turn back underneath Ron Hornaday, but it looked like maybe Kyle Krisloff in the 15 truck was there. They made a little contact.
A little bit of bumping and banging going on back in the 18th, 19th, 20th positions.
Let's go back and look at that. You see Ron Hornaday made this pass getting in the corner. You see him driving out. Bobby East is going to try to turn back underneath him. Kyle Krisloff tries to move into that hole that Ron Hornaday opened, and they made some contact. Look at Brendan Gaughan eased up against the outside wall in the Casino Queen Dodge.
Ron Hornaday, that was almost like a slide job in an old track race. Or dirt track.
Exactly right. That's exactly what it is. He got in the corner so hot that he couldn't keep his truck down on the bottom of the racetrack. You see Bill Lustert moves to the inside of Bobby East. That's one of the Fords out of the Wood Brothers JTG Racing right there, the 21. There's Bill Lustert currently running in the 19th position. Bobby East lost that spot to Kyle Krisloff last lap. Bobby's back to the 18th position.
We talked to Bobby East earlier before when it was actually raining this morning. He made the comment, you know, I've never been on this racetrack. This would be the first time I've ever gotten on there. And if we don't get some practice, this is going to be pretty tough.
Yeah, NASCAR was talking about if these trucks were not allowed to practice or qualify because of rain, they would have started this race with no practice whatsoever. And as we mentioned earlier, so many of the drivers never having run here in a truck race, it would have been very, very interesting. I've only been a part of that one time in my career at Richmond back about 10 years ago. We started the Busch race with not one lap of practice, second race of the season. So many people having brand new race cars, and their first lap of practice was when they threw the green flag for the race.
Saw the top Toyotas again. Top 5, all Toyotas. Musgrave, Bodine, Sprague, Ruderman, and Starr. And then it's 3 Fords lined up. Crawford, Darnell, and Reagan.
Yeah, Eric Donnell's really having a pretty good run. He's currently in the 7th position. I talked to him just before the race, and he said that he was not very good. He's got some pretty good experience here. He's run an ARCA race here. He finished 5th here last year, and he's won several of the Midwest Elite Division races here at this racetrack. So he had a lot of experience. He just said his truck wasn't very good. They made a lot of changes, and he's running in the top 10.
Eric Darnell's been pretty competitive. Oh, we see Matt Crafton and David Reagan side by side. A little bit loose. Now it's 3 wide.
3 wide. It shouldn't stay 3 wide for long. Matt Crafton able to squirt out in front of David Reagan, the 6. You see Dennis Setzer, the 85 truck on the inside, trying to make his way underneath of David Reagan. Today, Matt Crafton is another one, has an excellent record here. He's been here 5 times, 4 times finished in the top 10.
Ray.
Hey guys, Reagan is sliding the nose in the center of the corner really badly. He said he feels like if the truck's pretty good, he can drive it in real hard, but then he just can't get through the center of the corner. And with him on the outside now, and lots of guys taking a look at the inside, he's losing more spots as every lap goes by.
Let's take a look at the problems David Reagan had just a few minutes ago. You see him on the outside right there. That's the 5 of Mike Skinner. He tried to pull back in line, but Matt Crafton had already stuck his nose in that hole, just like we saw with Bobby East a few moments ago. They made a little contact, and that allowed Matt Crafton to get the inside of the 6 of David Reagan.
Side-by-side racing. Bobby Hamilton Jr. on the inside of David Reagan. He's trying to take the spot away. That Fastenal Dodge moving by David Reagan now.
This is Bobby's first Truck Series start here, but he's got a couple top 5 finishes in the Busch Series, so he's got a lot of experience at this racetrack, just not in a truck.
Reagan holding his own on the high side. Bobby now making the pass, so Bobby Hamilton Jr. moving up a spot. He takes 12th away from David Reagan.
Side by side behind them, that's Terry Cook, the Power Stroke Diesel Ford on the inside. David Reagan lost another position. Looks like Mike Bliss, the 16 truck, is also going to follow him by new leader.
Lead change. Todd Bodine takes it away from Ted Musgrave. This was just the 2nd race of the year that Ted Musgrave's led.
That's right, and this is the first lap that he hasn't led under green in 2 years.
Yeah.
At Gateway.
Very dominant performances for Ted Musgrave here, and it looks as though the caution has come out, and that is for Kelly Sutton in that 0-2.
You know, we've completed 29 laps right now. This caution will last a few laps. I wonder if NASCAR may consider going ahead and throwing or counting this as their competition caution, because we're so close to 35 laps. We'll have to wait and see if NASCAR will deem this their competition caution.
Again, doesn't look bad from the left side of that truck, but I believe there's a little bit of damage on the right side.
Good to see Kelly back in the truck. She missed a couple races. She had an accident back at Atlanta and actually sat out that race, and then had to sit out Martinsville because of that injury, but she's back in this truck and was doing a good job here. Unfortunately, she had some trouble on this most recent turn of events.
So the caution coming out on lap 29. Being told by NASCAR that Boris Jerkovich would normally receive the Aaron's Lucky Dog, but since he was penalized in the pits earlier, he will not actually receive the free pass. He has to make up that lap that he was penalized under green flag conditions.
Yeah, he actually pulled up the pit, which is illegal. When a caution comes out, you have to maintain your position until you get the entrance to pit road. He pulled up and passed some trucks before he pitted. That was a 1-lap penalty, and NASCAR says you're going to have to get that one back on your own. You will not get the lucky dog for that infraction, so he's going to have a tough time to try to get that lap back, because these trucks are setting a pretty torrid pace right now.
Yeah, another problem that he had in the pits was that he pitted out of his stall, and so he was penalized another lap, but he was able to get that back on the last Aaron's Lucky Dog. But again, no Aaron's Lucky Dog on this one, because he is the highest scored truck a lap down, and that is normally the one that receives the Lucky Dog, but he can't get it because of the fact that it was received under a penalty.
See, David Ruderman has made his mind up. He's going to come to pit road. We're going to see several trucks make some pit stops here. Some of the other trucks, Todd Bodine, Ted Musgrave, looks like they have stayed out on the racetrack along with a lot of the other lead lap trucks, but it's going to be a bit of a mixture here. There's a lot of trucks on the racetrack, some trucks on pit road.
A lot of crews up on the wall awaiting their drivers to see if they'll bring the trucks down pit road. It looks as though Todd Bodine is not going to come down pit road, but it looks as though David Ruderman will lead the field down pit road. Chris Devoto.
David Ruderman has been tight center off. They're making a wedge adjustment on the 17. David Rudiman said he needed front grip in practice today. He likes turns 1 and 2. He said he likes the way his truck is handling in that turn better than 3 and 4, but he is tight from the center off. Again, they are making a wedge adjustment. His teammate Joey Miller took his truck back behind the wall. They had a suspension part break, so Joey Miller and his crew chief Johnny Allen working on that truck as we speak. To Ray.
Well, Krista, just to let you know, both of the Roush trucks are here down at this end. David Reagan has the very first pit stall. You see they will make a wedge adjustment in the rear. Now, here's the strange part. All these crew chiefs weren't sure whether this was going to be the mandatory caution. We're at lap 30 right now. Lots of trucks coming down, but this does not replace the mandatory caution. So we don't know if there'll be another caution in 5 laps or not. But these guys, lots of them deciding to pit at lap 30.
Well, I really like the strategy of pitting now. Even if we get a competition caution at lap 35 or lap 40, whatever they say, well, then these trucks will have track position on those other trucks. Everybody that pits on the subsequent caution flag will have to line up behind all of these trucks. So I really like the strategy of pitting here. Also, you know, we're looking at probably some threatening weather. So if we go 80 laps and this rate we get some rain, well, these fellas again are obviously good to go till lap 80 because they've already run 30 laps. They only have to run 50 more laps to lap 80. So I really like pitting now. I'm not really sure why some of those other teams like Todd Bodine, Ted Musgrave, Jack Sprague, Rick Crawford, David Starr, our top 5, stay down on the racetrack.
Well, tomorrow on Speed, kickstart the excitement with NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot. The definitive NASCAR pre-race show is your drafting partner for all the high bank racing action from the biggest track on the circuit. NASCAR Race Day, built by the Home Depot, live from Talladega tomorrow, 11 Eastern only on Speed. Again, we're expecting a competition caution. If it has not been given out, they had talked earlier about it coming at lap 25, and then they said, no, we're going to back that up. It'll probably be around lap 35, but we're getting close to that mark right now.
Yeah, I think we're so close at lap 35 to this caution flag that they may adjust that. They may say, let's just look at 35 green flag laps, which would take us, you know, past lap 40. So we're going to have to see what NASCAR decides, and we'll certainly let everybody know as soon as NASCAR decides which way they're going to go.
And will NASCAR make that information available to the drivers through their spotters? How do they tell them?
They will go on the radio. Everybody in the field will monitor NASCAR. So they'll go on the radio and say, hey guys, you know, we're going to throw the caution at lap 42 or 45, whatever they decide. They will certainly let everybody know. Plus there's somebody standing on the roof with the spotters, and they'll also let them know that too. There you can see right there the spotters, and there'll be an official up there with those spotters and let them know.
So our third caution has come out. This came out when Kelly Sutton had some problems on lap 29. Few trucks have come down pit road for stops. Racing action just getting back underway. Todd Bodine still out in front of Ted Musgrave after he took the lead just before that last caution came out. Jack Sprague, Rick Crawford, David Starr all rounding out your top 5. Now there were about 16, 17 trucks that stayed out and did not pit. Phil, is that because they're expecting the competition caution?
I think without a doubt they are, but I think the bad part of that strategy is that they will be back behind all the trucks. More than likely the trucks that pitted on this most recent caution will stay out, and they will get track position over the trucks that will pit. Now we're hearing from NASCAR that competition caution is going to be at lap number 45, so we've only got a little less than 10 laps to go before that competition caution, but I think you'll see the remainder of the field that pitted stay out.
And so that may be a wise decision for guys like David Rudiman, who was in first and back out first. So the potential is that he will be leading this race in about 7 laps.
Got a battle for second right there. Jack Sprague, the Conway Toyota, moves to the inside of Ted Musgrave, beats him down into turn number 1.
Right behind him, Rick Crawford trying to follow as Musgrave gets on the outside. Sprague working him on the inside. 2 Toyotas side by side.
These trucks right now, Todd Bodine, who obviously had clear racetrack, he ran within a 0.2 of a second of his fastest lap of the night. So we've got 37 laps on these tires. A lot of those laps caution, but they're running almost as fast as they have all night long.
Side by side continuing around this racetrack. Jack Sprague on the inside in that Conway Trucking Toyota. On the outside, the Germain Racing Team ASE Toyota number 9 of Ted Musgrave. Musgrave holding his own on the outside around this track. Krista.
Guys, the fact that Musgrave has slipped back behind his teammate Todd Bodine is actually a good thing. Earlier in the race, Musgrave's truck was running hot. The water temperature was up to 235, the oil as high as 290. He said it's helping him being behind his teammate to cool that truck down.
Well, right now, he's no longer behind his teammate. His teammate's kind of checked out on him as Sprague now battling him on the inside.
Hey, Ted Musgrave said it is very, very difficult to make the outside work here, and he's making it work both ends of the racetrack.
He was able to hold off Jack Sprague and get back in front of him, back in line, and so now he holds on to second.
While they were racing side by side, Todd Bodine squirted out to almost a 3-second lead. That's how much it takes to run side by side around here. That's how much slow should we see. A little wiggle from Ted Musgrave. Will that allow Jack Sprague to get to the inside again?
Sprague looking to the inside, won't try to make the pass this time. Rick Crawford also looking to the inside.
Yeah, those two trucks running side by side allowed Rick Crawford and David Starr to move right up behind them. You see Mike Skinner, also the 5 Toyotas, also joined that battle.
Jack Sprague looking again on the inside. This time it looks as though he's got a bumper and the whole truck on the inside of Ted Musgrave. He's going to make the pass. Musgrave drops back.
Yeah, he just drove down in that corner, going to make sure he got out in front of Ted Musgrave. Now Rick Crawford's going to try to do the same thing and get by Ted Musgrave.
Here comes Rick Crawford. Following him, David Starr is going to take notes on this and see if he can also make the pass.
What a great run Ted Musgrave had in the second half of the straightaway. Ooh, another wiggle there. That's the second lap in a row he's wiggled through turn number 2.
They're side by side. Crawford on the inside now of Ted Musgrave.
See what happens when they get down to turn number 3. This is where Jack Sprague was able to get by Ted Musgrave. Looks like Rick's going to be able to make the move also. Just get in front of him through the center of the corner. Rick's truck is really good through the center of the corner.
And when we're riding along with Ted, we can hear him feather that throttle. When he tries to get back on it, he doesn't punch it. It looks as though he's just kind of easing into it.
That's right. That's because this racetrack is so flat. You've got 11-degree bank in turns 1 and 2, 9 degrees out in turns number 3 and 4. That's virtually flat when it comes to a racetrack.
Musgrave continues to be shuffled back now. David Starr on the inside in the number 11. He's trying to take the position away.
You can see the front brake rotor glow hot, red hot on David Starr truck as he entered the corner. As soon as he got off the brakes, then the brake rotor turned back to regular metal. Ted Musgrave really gets in the corner good. Most of these trucks are beating him right through the center of the corner. That time he stays tough on the outside. David Starr not able to use the whole racetrack because Ted Musgrave is there. He'd like to swing that truck all the way out to the outside wall, but Ted Musgrave there can't do it.
Musgrave holding the position away from David Starr, just behind David Starr. That's the number 5 of Mike Skinner. Checking out a little bit on the field here, Todd Bodine, Jack Sprague, and Rick Crawford. Again, 4.5 seconds, the difference between Todd Bodine and Jack Sprague, and about 0.3 of a second between Sprague and Crawford now.
Mike Bliss in the 16 truck is the first truck of the trucks that have pitted. Here we go with it. This is going to be the competition caution right here.
Caution flag comes out for Todd Bodine out in front of the field. And so this again, the competition caution, the drivers knew this was going to happen, knew this caution was going to take place.
We know the top 13 trucks right now will pit. Those trucks have not pitted this entire race. Mike Bliss in the IWX Chevrolet in 14th is the first truck of those trucks that pitted on the most recent caution flag. So it'll be interesting to see how many of those trucks stay out. I think a lot of them will.
Pit strategy coming into play early on. Again, a year ago, Ted Musgrave dominated this race. Only 3 drivers led a year ago. Ted Musgrave, again, leading 158 of the 160 laps this race so far. Todd Bodine's been out front. Ted Musgrave's been out front. Those two have been the class of the field. This time by, again, about 16 or 17 trucks did not pit the last time when the caution came out at lap 29.
Well, they're coming now.
We would expect all of them to make their way down pit road at this time.
You can see all the trucks. You see David Ruderman stay. Mike Bliss actually came back in the pits. He pitted back on lap number 31, but he came back in the pits. David Ruderman, the 17 truck, stays on the racetrack.
Krista, who have you got your eye on?
We've got our eye on Jack Sprague as he makes his way down pit road. You know, Jack Sprague has always been really good here. He has 3 top 5s, another top 10, but his last couple starts here, he's finished no better than 20th, but that's because he was running second before he had a left front blow. His truck is now in. You see the new logo for the Conway Toyota Tundra. He is making a little bit of a slight adjustment to the chassis. They are running a little bit tight off. Further up pit road, the 30 of Todd Bodine also in. His crew runs around to the left side to make the tire change there. He is also running tight to Ray.
Hey, Krista, they're going to make a track bar adjustment for David Starr. Now, first he said maybe we ought to raise it a little bit. Then Jamie Jones said, no, let's go down 1 round, because the problem is David starts off just a little bit loose in his run here. So David Starr will get his pit stop. He comes in running 4th. A number of other trucks are going to get out. We see the 6 goes down pit road, the 30 is gone, and this pit stop got hung up a little bit for Starr. So as he comes in running 4th, he is going to lose lots and lots of track position here on pit road.
Also losing the race off pit road, Jack Sprague got beat off by Rick Crawford. And so Rick Crawford moving ahead of Jack Sprague on pit road. We'll be back for more Green Flag Racing. And the caution has come out as quickly as the green flag flew. Robert Richardson having problems on the restart. And so that is the problem. He's missing some bumpers there.
Just got bunched up on the caution flag there. He got run into from behind by Kelly Sutton, but it was a chain reaction deal. It wasn't Kelly's fault. Everyone started stopping and hard contact. That's a Chevrolet this race for Robert Richardson. They've run Dodges the 4 previous races, but it's going to be a short night, unfortunately.
That green flag had just come out. And so problems on the restart in St. Louis. We'll be back for more Green Flag Racing on Speed.
You know, since about the time that Fred Flintstone first learned to drive, Craftsman has been making great wrenches for you to use, whether it's on your personal vehicle or on the race trucks here at the track. Now, here's a typical wrench that the guys use each and every day. You've got your open end down here, and you've got your boxed end here. Now, if you've got a nut, this end goes on it pretty easy, but if you want to really get lots of leverage, you oftentimes use the boxed end. But the problem is, lots of times you get in here into a workspace that things are just too cramped, and there's no room for you to get the leverage. But Craftsman has come up with a better idea. Now, there's still a boxed end and an open end. The open end is here, and the boxed end is here. But guess what? Now it's a ratchet. So I can go to work on the truck here, and I can do about 5 times as much work as I would with a standard wrench. You want to go from loosening to tightening, you just turn the wrench over, and now you're going the other direction. So the guys can get lots more work done. This thing has a 5-degree ratcheting angle, and it gets all the work done. A ratcheting tool from Craftsman.
Thank you, Ray. You can check out this Craftsman Tools of the Trade and other great programming on Speed on Demand.
The top 5 trucks on the racetrack right now stayed out on the most recent caution flag. David Ruderman, Kerry Earnhardt, Eric Darnell, Aaron Crocker, and Steve Park all headed back on lap number 31.
Catching all new Pinks Wednesday night on Speed. Watch as the 86 Ford Mustang takes on a woolly mammoth. Well, find out whose ownership is about to go extinct. It's one of the wildest matchups ever. Pinks Wednesday night at 9 Eastern only on Speed. The woolly mammoth.
I don't know. I don't know what that is.
We are still under caution. This is the 5th caution of the night, and this is the reason why.
Just a chain reaction deal, and Robert Richardson unfortunately got the worst of it. Kelly Sutton, the 0-2 Copaxton Chevrolet, ran in the back of Robert and turned him sideways, made some pretty hard contact to the inside wall. We saw him get out of the truck, so there he is right there. There's a good shot of him getting out of the truck. He's a pretty big boy, a little hard to get out of those trucks. Pretty tight with all the safety paraphernalia.
As we slide away for another break, how about Ruderman, Kerry Earnhardt, Eric Darnell, Aaron Crocker, and Steve Park, your top 5. Welcome back to the Missouri-Illinois Dodge Dealers Ram Tough 200 from this most recent caution. The Aaron's lucky dog goes to the 46 of Craig Kinzer.
Good break for Craig Kinzer. Mike Bliss, the 16 IWX Chevrolet, ended up pitting too soon. He pitted before pit road was open. He will have to restart this race from the tail end of the field.
Bringing the field to the green flag. We'll see if we get a better restart this time. It's the 17 of David Rudiman. Again, that top 5, Rudiman, Kerry Earnhardt, Eric Darnell, Aaron Crocker, and Steve Park.
Big gap behind the 99 of Eric Darnell and the 98 of Aaron Crocker, and did not get a very good restart. Nobody able to get by her. But she's got a big gap now in front of her, about 8-10 truck lengths between her and Eric Darnell.
And Bill, we're thinking that some drivers like Bill Lester and maybe Eric Almirola maybe just came in and just they filled up, they're topped off with fuel.
Yeah, I think they pitted and put tires on back on lap number 31. Then they came in under the competition caution, just topped off with fuel. Got great pit work, got out quick. Bill Lester's in the 6th position right now, and he was one of the trucks that actually pitted. See a battle for second. Eric Darnell goes by the 13 of Kerry Earnhardt for the 2nd spot.
Eric Darnell making his way up toward the front, trying to chase down David Rudiman. Rudiman, the 3rd different leader today. It's Musgrave, Bodine, and Rudiman all leading laps here at Gateway.
I talked to Eric. I mentioned earlier that his truck was not very good in practice, and I said, are you very close setup-wise to what the 6 truck is running? He said, we weren't, but we're getting closer together now. It looks like they've made their truck better than the 6 truck. He's been running very, very well. Stayed in the top 10 this entire race.
Very tight racing there as Eric Darnell's able to take the position away from Kerry Earnhardt. Side by side as they go down the backstretch.
There's the 75 of Eric Almirola, the 30 of Todd Bodine, one of our early leaders. The 59 of Steve Park right behind them. Remember, Steve restarted this race up in the top 5. He's lost a couple spots. You see Todd just turn his truck right underneath the 75 of Eric Almirola. That's to make time here, you've got to be able to turn your truck off the corner, get underneath somebody, and then beat them down to the other end of the racetrack, down the long straightaways.
Riding along with Bill Lester, we look back on the number 30 Toyota of Todd Bodine, Lumber Liquidators 30. David Rudiman holding on to the top spot as he goes by the start-finish line. This time he will have led 14 laps of this race as we're completing our 59th lap.
Do you think he learned something out at Long Beach in the Toyota Celebrity Challenge race?
Quite possibly. I think he learned that he doesn't want to get beat by Todd Bodine in this race.
Good thing William Shatner's not in this race because David turned him.
Side by side here.
Dennis Setzer. Great run. Here comes Jack Sprague. Remember how good he was early on in this race.
Also, Ted Musgrave was running very well early on. He's being shown in 14th, so he'll try to work his way back up through the field.
Yeah, that was a battle for 9th right there. Dennis Setzer just took over 9th. Jack Sprague's going to follow him to take over the 10th position. Here comes Johnny Benson in the 23 Toyota on the inside. And there's Ted Musgrave, the Team ASE Toyota.
Those Toyotas lining up nose to tail. Johnny Benson just in front of Ted Musgrave. Johnny Benson has taken the spot away from Steve Park. Steve Park, one of those drivers that stayed out.
That's the Harris Trucking Dodge. We saw him run a Ford at Atlanta. Back to the Dodges on these kind of racetracks, but he looks like he will have a Ford back at Charlotte, which will be our next race in 2 or 3 weeks.
And you mentioned a Dodge, also following this pack around, it's the Fastenal Dodge. Oh, and problems as they come down the front stretch. Kyle Krisloff involved in this one. He's on the inside of the field trying to pick their way through.
Not shooting. There's Mike Skinner. A lot of damage to that Toyota.
Hard hit there in the number 5.
Looks like the 20 of Marcus Ambrose with the right side of the truck's torn off. Ray, how about Mike Skinner?
Well, Phil, I don't know exactly what precipitated this accident, but Mike Skinner had just come on the radio and said, I got a flat right front tire. I'm going to pit next time. I'll be coming to pit road, flat right front tire. That may be what caused this crash.
You're right, Ray. It may very well have been. He may have cut that tire down off the corner, bounced off the wall, and maybe into somebody. Look at all the damage to the 20 of Marcus Ambrose. What a horrible break. He had a great run going. He stayed up in the top 15, 20. Only a second Craftsman Truck Series race, but a lot of damage to that Ford.
Sheet metal dangling off the sides. Marcus Ambrose takes the access road.
From the country of Tasmania, just below Australia.
Considers himself an Australian. Let's take a look at how this most recent caution has taken place.
There's Mike Skinner. Just as Ray mentioned, he thought he had a soft tire. Bounced into the outside wall and came off the wall and made hard contact with the 20 of Marcus Ambrose. They came along with absolutely nowhere to go. Marcus made some contact with Kyle Krisloff in the 15. Just a horrible break. It looked like Mike Skinner, he knew he had a soft tire. There it is. It went down right there. And when he bounced off the wall, look at the damage to the 20 and to the 15.
Thank goodness for softer barriers, because he hit that wall hard coming out of turn 4.
Well, he sure did. See the trucks trying to pick their way through this accident. Just about blocked the racetrack. It's a good shot from our speed camera right there. It's Marcus Ambrose right there, the 20 truck up against the outside wall.
Like a can opener, ripping the metal off of the side of that truck.
07 of Boris Bjerkqvist just couldn't quite get stopped. There's Mike Skinner getting out. That's a good sign. He made a lot of hard contact. When you blow a right front tire like that and hit that wall at the angle you hit it, that was really hard. That's actually Justin Martz in the 07. Boris is in the 08.
Trucks that were involved in this crash: the 07 of Justin Martz, 20 of Marcus Ambrose, Kyle Krisloff also involved in the 15, and then Mike Skinner in that number 5. And so 6 cautions have taken place at Gateway tonight. Coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series on Speed is presented by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. Brought to you in part by Fram. Remember, before you slam it, Fram it. And by Honda Generators, the power of choice. Greg Kinzer again receiving the Aaron's lucky dog. So that number 46 will be able to get back on the lead lap.
Good break for him. Again, that's the second lucky dog of the race for Craig.
Currently, they're sending the trucks down pit road because of the damage done on the front stretch and the debris there. Next Saturday on Speed, it's the season finale of AMA Supercross, live from Las Vegas. All year long, you've watched Supercross soar. Now, the stakes are at their highest for the season finale. Tune in as Speed goes live, covering all the action from Las Vegas next Saturday at 10 Eastern. Welcome back to the Missouri-Illinois Dodge Dealers Ram Tough 200 from Gateway International Speedway on Speed. Again, 6 cautions have been the big story so far.
See Bill Lester right there, the 22 truck. He's running in the 3rd spot. That's Todd Bodine, the Lumber Liquidators Toyota, right behind him. Bill has a great run going. He's one of the trucks that stayed out when the majority of the field pitted. One of the 5 trucks on the lead lap that stayed out. He actually gained a spot or 2 up into the 3rd position. Eric Darnell right in front of him in 2nd.
So the field coming out of turn number 4. Again, David Ruderman out in front. As he goes by the start-finish line, it'll be his 22nd lap led so far this evening. Only Ted Musgrave has led more laps at 28 so far. So David Ruderman grabs the green flag. Eric Darnell right behind him.
Keep an eye on that 30 truck of Todd Bodine. He's been so good tonight. See what he can do with Bill Lester in the 22 Waste Management Toyota.
How about a great run for Bill Lester, too? Bill Lester has a career best of 5th ever in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Now he's battling right now for 3rd. It looks as though Todd's going to take that position away, drops Bill back to 4th.
He did it how you have to do it here. We talked earlier. You get your truck turned in the center, you pull up beside somebody exiting the corner, and you beat him down in the other end. That's exactly what Todd did that time. His truck is really, really good.
Todd Bodine looking to add his name to the list of winners at Gateway. He's got a couple stout trucks in front of him that he's got to get by, although Todd has been very, very good tonight.
A lot of these drivers and teams are keeping an eye on the scoreboard. We've completed as Todd Bodine goes for the second spot on Eric Darnell. He had that momentum coming off turn number 2. We will complete lap number 68 right here, going on lap number 69. These drivers know that we're only about 10 laps shy of having a official race. We've got to get to 80 laps regardless of what the weather does, but hopefully we can get all 160 laps in.
I have had a chance to look at the radar a little bit. It looks pretty clear, so I think we're going to get 160 laps in here tonight.
Todd Bodine wants to wait for the rain to hold off till he gets by David Ruderman. He's got one more spot. Great battle right here. That's Bobby Hamilton Jr., the 18 Fastenal Dodge. There's Ted Musgrave. That's Aaron Crocker, the Cheerios Betty Crocker Dodge on the outside. Aaron was maintaining a top 10 position. Here goes Bobby Hamilton Jr. going to bring Ted Musgrave with him.
David Starr in the 11 trying to work his way back toward the front.
Looks like Terry Cook, the Power Stroke Diesel Ford, looks to the inside, makes it 3 wide going in turn number 1. Could be tight.
You can't run 3 wide at St. Louis, it doesn't look like. Terry Cook trying to force his way up there. David Reagan able to hold on to his position as he works his way very well through 1 and 2.
There was a little bit of debris on the racetrack coming off turn number 2. The 21 of Bobby East ran over that debris. Hopefully it didn't puncture that tire and give him a slow leak. We'll find out soon enough.
Aaron Crocker running on the high side of the racetrack. The 98 Dodge. Gentleman that was involved in the most recent caution, Mike Skinner, out of his truck, and I believe Chris DeVota's got him.
Yes, we've caught up with Mike Skinner back here in the garage, just coming out of the care center. And Mike, that was a very hard hit. First and foremost, are you okay? We know that tire was going down. Is that what triggered that wreck?
I can't hear you, Krista, but I can tell you what happened. Our truck was awesome, and we must have ran over something and cut a right front tire, because the set of tires that came off of it, Jeff said it looked like they'd have ran the whole race. The truck was really good. May have been the best truck we had in our stable, but that old black cloud seems to follow us around. But you know, we'll be back.
All right, that's Mike Skinner, and yes, he had radioed in that his tire was going down, so he knew there was a problem out there. Also, while we were talking to Mike, a very beat-up Timothy Peters, his truck rolled by us. He is back out on the track.
No dark clouds for the number 30 of Todd Bodine. He was able to get by David Ruderman. He takes the point again.
He has made it look so easy as he's passed these trucks, and these are good trucks. David Ruderman's got a great truck. Eric Darnell's been in the top 10 this entire race, and Todd Bodine has just driven by him.
Todd Bodine and teammate Ted Musgrave have been dominant so far this season. Ted Musgrave actually has not finished out of the top 5 in all 4 races up to this point.
Let's take a look at how Todd Bodine was able to take the lead. He actually ran his fastest lap of the race. You see him, again, he gets the momentum coming off turn number 2. He's driven by almost every truck down the backstretch, beats him down into turn number 3. 2 laps ago, Todd ran his fastest lap of the entire race.
That truck coming to him. Now, people talk about a short run or setting it up for long runs. At St. Louis, you would think you would set them up for long runs, as many green flag laps as we normally run here.
Yeah, Todd said early before the race when we interviewed him that got a great battle right there at the 14 of Rick Crawford, the 60 of Jack Sprague, but Todd said we typically get a long green flag run in the middle of the race. We have cautions early, cautions late. In the middle, we usually run green flag. Great battle right here. You see Jack Sprague able to get underneath him coming off the corner, just like Todd Bodine's been able to do, and see if he can beat Rick down into turn number 1.
Drag race down the front stretch. Rick Crawford on the outside in the number 14 Ford.
Jack has to be very, very careful entering the corner, because if he enters the corner too hard, he'll slide up, make contact with Rick Crawford, maybe take them both out. That's why you see the truck on the outside able to drive in a little bit harder than the truck on the inside.
Todd Bodine out in front of this field, and if the race were to end right now, points as of now, Todd Bodine up in front. So he would lead in points for the very first time this year.
Well, he came in the race in 3rd position in points. Remember, Mark Martin, who was our point leader coming in, is not running this race. He's in Talladega. He's not going to run all the truck races. He's only going to run 14. So we knew that somebody was going to take over the point lead. Ted Musgrave was in 2nd right now, but his teammate, Todd Bodine, by virtue of the fact he's leading this race, if it ended right now, he would be our new point leader.
And the way Todd Bodine finished the 05 season, we thought he was the man to beat this year. He's been so dominant, so good, and this would be the first time he's ever led the points in the Truck Series.
As we mentioned earlier, 10 of the last 13 races, Tom Bodine has finished first or second. There's Bobby Hamilton Jr. on the left right there, the 18 truck. Dennis Setzer, the 46 truck, or I'm sorry, the 85 truck. I'm so used to saying Dennis Setzer in the 46 truck. Great side-by-side battle between the two veterans, Bobby Hamilton Jr. and Dennis Setzer.
Dennis Setzer able to get out in front, but doesn't take the preferred line yet. Now he's going to go toward the yellow line on the inside of the track.
Dennis in the Flex Fuel E85 Chevrolet.
Holds that position just in front of Bobby Hamilton Jr., taking ninth away from Bobby Hamilton Jr.
Bobby Jr. That's Ted Musgrave, the 9. Team ASC Germain Toyota on the inside.
So Ted Musgrave making his way by Bobby Hamilton Jr. The number 10 Ford truck of Terry Cook, currently running 13th. Ray, how's he doing?
Well, Ricky's pretty happy with the truck. It's getting into the corner good, and he's starting to move back up through the pack here. I had a chance to talk with Terry earlier today. You know, he won his very first race in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series at Flemington Speedway in New Jersey. Then his next win came right here at St. Louis, and there were 87 races in between those two victories, and that's the longest Terry had ever gone without a win. Well, guess what? As we came into St. Louis tonight, it has now been 87 races since his last win. And guess what? We're back at St. Louis. I said, you got anything for him tonight? He said, I promise you, we're going to give it all we got. And I think tonight, that number 87 might just be our good luck charm.
Well, Bobby Hamilton Jr. is really in a mess right now.
That's David Starr, the 11 Toyota right in front of him. That's Kerry Earnhardt, the 13 Chevrolet on the outside. See a little bit of damage to David Starr. He got that damage in the Robert Richardson crash, that chain reaction situation. It's like a parachute on the left rear quarter panel of that truck.
As Ray was talking about Terry Cook, we passed the halfway point, and so this race would be considered official if the rains would come back. Again, we're going 160 laps from St. Louis.
Terry Cook looks like he does have a good truck, as Ray mentioned. Terry's passed a lot of trucks this race. Started back in the 13th position. You see him move to the inside of Kerry Earnhardt. Makes that pass. Takes over position number 12.
Terry Cook marching forward. Again, Terry Cook has won at this racetrack.
He won 4 races back in 2002 driving for K Automotive. Bob Keselowski, K Keselowski. Great battle right here. There's David Starr, the David Ruderman, the 17 truck, who looks like he's going to lose a spot to the 22 of Bill Lester.
Bill Lester trying to follow the 14 of Rick Crawford around this 1.25-mile track.
Bill takes over the 5th spot from David Ruderman. Going to try to bring the 23 of Johnny Benson with him. He does. They both get by David Ruderman.
And again, we believe the pit strategy was they came in on lap 31, got tires and fuel, and then came back in on the competition caution and just got fuel and were able to get track position by not spending much time on pit road. Also not spending much time on pit road. Out in front of this one, it's Todd Bodine. Could it be 11 out of 14 races finishing first or second? We'll find out. We've passed the halfway point at Gateway. And welcome back. Caution has just come out at Gateway International Raceway. This is the 7th caution of the night, coming out on lap 88. And we are hearing that it is for debris.
Good news for somebody like David Ruderman. He has dropped all the way back to the 12th position. He needs to come in and make some adjustments. We're 72 laps right now from the end of the race. We talked about the pit window being somewhere between 65 and 75. Most of the teams said about 70 laps. So I think we may see a lot of pit stops here, and these guys may try to run the rest of this race, but we have to remember you have to have enough fuel for a green-white checkered. And this was the place of all places for green-white checkers. We're not going to get 4 like we did 2 years ago, but we could very well have 1.
Well, Mikey, I know you're watching. It's the Aaron's Lucky Dog 07 of Justin Martz getting this one this time.
Justin making his first ever Craftsman Truck Series start. His mother is a former Olympic speed skater and a former governor of Montana.
That's right, Judy Martz. So Justin will bring the field down pit road, right in front of Rick Crawford. Krista.
The 9 of Ted Musgrave is going to be coming in. His crew is up on the wall as he makes his way down pit road. The 14, you see Rick Crawford also, and he has a very good truck right now. Of course, Ted Musgrave knows this track so well, the only 2-time winner at St. Louis. The crew still up on the wall waiting for their truck to come in. It looks like the 9 is not coming in now. We do not see him. Let's talk about Rick Crawford and the 14. They have a couple of extra honorary pit crew members down there. 2 of the local St. Louis Rams, Jeremy Callahan and Brandon Green, on pit road with the team. Rick Crawford pulls out pit road. He has a very good truck looking for his first St. Louis win. Ray.
Well, Krista, I'm a little bit confused down here because David Reagan brings his Scots Ford to pit road here, but I've just heard every crew chief on this end say there's no way we can make the distance. We're going to be 6 to 10 laps short down here. But now I see other trucks leaving pit road too. They're going to make sure they pack this thing completely full of fuel. Brian Carr's got the fuel stick in there. They're going to do that. And I guess what some of these crew chiefs are thinking is that we may end up with a good number of laps of caution here at the end of the race, and maybe they're going to gamble.
You know, when we talk about a pit window being 65 to 75 laps, they're going by what they kind of fuel mileage they get in practice, and that's not really always indicative of what they're going to get in the race. They've already made at least 1, probably 2 pit stops so far, so they've got a better idea of what these trucks are getting in race conditions for fuel mileage. So as Ray mentioned, not all of these crew chiefs feel like they can make it the rest of the way.
Yep, 70 laps of racing to go. Let's take a look at how we got here. What has taken place thus far in tonight's race. First caution coming out on lap 8.
Yeah, the 12 truck of Joey Miller meant to go on pit road. He slid across under the racetrack, forced the 59 of Steve Park off in to Timothy Peters.
Chad Chapman smoking, bringing out our second caution. The fourth caution was the competition caution coming out because of the rain conditions here in St. Louis.
And a lack of practice time. There's the restart right after that fourth caution. Robert Richardson is a victim of a chain reaction. A lot of damage to his Chevrolet.
Sixth caution, multiple trucks after the number 5 of Mike Skinner bounces off the wall in turn 4, comes back across and collects 3 other trucks with him then.
Now this caution for debris, but they've allowed a lot of the teams to make pit stops. Some of them feeling like they're going to probably try to stretch it to the end of this race, I would think.
And they think they're going to be close. Now, again, one of the reasons why they might not be so sure is because we didn't get a lot of practice time. Normally in practice, they'll run as many laps as they can. They'll come back in and fill it up and say, okay, we're pretty sure what our fuel mileage is going to be because of that practice. Well, Craftsman Motorsports, in conjunction with Bobby Hamilton Racing, will host Craftsman for a Cure, charity event on Tuesday, May 23rd at NASCAR Speed Park in Concord, North Carolina from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. The charity event will support the American Cancer Society, Relay for Life, and the Victory Junction Gang Camp. Fans can buy tickets by calling 866-227-3264. Along with many of your favorite Truck Series stars, also joining the show, Ryan Newman, Kenny Wallace, Darrell and Michael Waltrip, Kenny Schrader, Kurt Busch, Kyle Petty, and many, many more. So a great event. Again, that taking place on May 23rd.
Yeah, a tremendous group of Nextel Cup drivers and Busch drivers will be part of that Craftsman for a Cure. Great, great benefit.
Chris Devoto.
Well, guys, we were not the only ones down here confused on pit road. So were the Germain teammates. Ted Musgrave thought he was going to come in, but they were dictating it on what the leader did, his teammate Todd Bodine. Todd Bodine waited up until the very last second. He was on his radio going, guys, do we pit? Do we stay out? What do we do? He missed the commitment cone. That's why they stayed out, and thus that's why Ted Musgrave stayed out as well. Now, David Rudiman, he's been dropping back quickly. Before that stop, he said that his truck was plowing so bad he wanted his crew chief, Jason Overstreet, to throw everything he had at it, and that's just what they did. Major changes. They're trying to free this thing up. Ray.
Hey, Krista, realize that Dennis Setzer in his Flex Fuel Chevrolet has finished at this racetrack second 3 different times, including the last 2 races that we've run here. But tonight so far, he didn't feel like they were good enough to do just that. He was running back about 8th to 10th place. So what they decided to do was gamble here on this pit stop. They came in, they packed that thing full of fuel, gave him his tires, and I believe Dennis Setzer is done pitting for tonight All these guys, as I said, are hoping we get some cautions.
Green flag comes back out, Phil. Huge mistake for Bodine and Ted Musgrave. I mean, that could cost them the race.
Absolutely, especially if they feel like they could have gone that distance that we have remaining. You see Jack Sprague looks to the inside of Eric Darnell, trying to take over the second spot. He needs to get by Eric and chase down Todd Bodine.
Jack Sprague making his way past Eric Darnell. Now he sets his sights on the number 30 of Todd Bodine.
The thing is, we know all these trucks are going to have to stop again, but we're not so sure about some of the trucks that pitted on this most recent caution. I think a lot of those trucks, some of those trucks will be able to make it the rest of the way. If this race goes green, all these trucks you see right here, Todd Bodine, Jack Sprague, Eric Darnell, Johnny Benson, they're going to be in trouble.
Especially if we have a long green flag run right now, it would be stupid to come in. I mean, if they are out here in front now and have pitted already, they can stay out front and gamble.
Absolutely. We've got people like Dennis Setzer who pitted, David Ruderman who pitted, Rick Crawford, Terry Cook. All those drivers could be in the catbird seat if this race goes green.
Side by side, that's the 23 of Johnny Benson on the inside. Outside of him, the 99 of Eric Darnell.
Great side-by-side battle. Johnny Benson, ooh, very, very close. Maybe even touched the 99 of Eric Darnell. But here comes Musgrave on the inside of Eric.
Ted Musgrave trying to follow the 23 around the track. Now Eric Darnell stuck on the outside.
Look at that run through the center of the corner, the 11 of David Stargott. Remember, we saw him get some damage in that chain reaction accident on that restart that took Robert Richardson out. Looks like his truck has come around.
Running very strong, being scored in the 6th position right now, just behind Ted Musgrave in the 5th position.
Terry Cook, the 10. Rick Crawford, the circle bar. Truck corral on the inside. Got a little bit loose there just a moment ago. Side by side for the 13th spot. There's Dennis Setzer. Remember, he's, as Ray mentioned, he may gamble, may try to go all the way. He just gets another spot, moves up into the top 10. Actually 9th for Dennis Setzer.
You had mentioned a little bit squirrely earlier. They were 3 wide. That's Brendan Gaughan on the outside.
Look at him get sideways. Ooh, bounced into Terry Cook, forced him in the outside wall.
Terry Cook bounces off the wall, bounces back into Rick Crawford. A lot of bumping and banging goes on the truck.
And then they kept racing through the next corner.
These trucks are tough. The drivers are tough. Now Ted Musgrave trying to be a little tough on a rookie. Eric Darnell on his outside.
Very impressive rookie, though. Eric Darnell been in the top 10 2 of the 4 races, 11th the other 2 races. See Ted Musgrave serial there, started 2nd, led early on, got back due to some pit strategy, now back up racing for the 3rd spot. 4th spot.
Eric Darnell looked as though he's going to back off, let Ted take that spot. Oh, a little contact there as well.
That seems to be a very tight corner coming off turn number 2. And it actually is, because that end of the racetrack is so much tighter. We've talked about it a lot tonight. Very, very tight corner, turn 1 and 2. A little more wide sweeping corner, turns 3 and 4. A little bit flatter, 2 degrees less banking in 3 and 4.
Side by side down the front stretch. It's Ted Musgrave and the Team ASC Toyota out in front of this field here.
See Mike Bliss, the 16 IWX Chevrolet. They're still looking for a full-time sponsor. IWX, Steve Coulter is here. He's decided to help them out, try to keep them going until they can attract some sponsorship. Awfully glad to have them on board. TKO, their decal manufacturer, also came on board. Longtime decal manufacturer of this team to get them here to this race.
Steve Coulter with 2 championships as an owner. The top Fords currently Eric Darnell in 5th position. Dodges, Bobby Hamilton Jr. leading the Dodge Brigade.
Scott Lagasse Jr. having a pretty good run. Teammate to Bobby Hamilton Jr. First time he'd ever seen this racetrack, doing a pretty good job.
Toyotas, we know about their dominance. 1st through 4th, and then you tag on a 6th of their top 5 trucks in this race.
Saw the 21 of Bobby East make a move by the 04 of Scott Lagasse Jr.
Chevrolet.
Dennis Setzer leads the Chevrolet Brigade up in the 7th spot, but Dennis has a very good truck. He restarted this race outside the top 10. He's made his way all the way up to 7th. You may have to contend with Dennis Setzer before this race is over. And remember, he may have enough fuel to go all the way. If he doesn't, he's going to try it anyway.
So after we've completed 100 laps, Todd Bodine out in front of Jack Sprague, Johnny Benson, Ted Musgrave, and Eric Darnell. Your top 5 at Gateway. Caution 8 has come out in Gateway. Bill Lester involved in this one. A lot of damage to the number 22 Toyota.
Yeah, along with Eric Darnell, unfortunately. In the 90, you see the Simply Wild Ford right there. A lot of damage to Eric's truck. That's going to, yeah, first time he's going to fail to complete all the laps this year. As we mentioned earlier, 2 top 10s and the other 2 races 11th, but not tonight.
He was competitive running 6th.
He was. He had a great run going. He was going to be one of the trucks that had to pit, but what a big break for these trucks that did not pit on this most recent caution.
Let's take a look at what happened.
See Bill out. Just drives down to the corner, runs in the back of Eric Darnell. That corner is so difficult to negotiate because we talked about it earlier. You drive in this corner, use all the brakes you have. That's why we see when the trucks run side by side, the truck on the inside doesn't run in typically as hard. Watch Kerry Earnhardt, the 13 truck, as he comes in. Whoa. Ooh, may have made some contact with another truck as he tried to avoid Bill Lester. But here's another view of it right here. Oh, that's why Kerry Earnhardt almost hit.
Oh, he hits
made
the
some
wall
contact
too.
with the outside wall, yeah. He wasn't avoiding Bill Lester. He was in an accident of his own, unfortunately. Caution flag more than likely was already out when that happened. Tough break. Here we go. There's Bill Lester. He got in the corner. Looked like maybe a little bit hot, or maybe Eric Darnell backed off a little bit earlier than he had been, and it doesn't take much. You're in the corner again as hard as you can drive in the corner.
That's
Bill
Eric Darnell.
Just touched Eric, the 99 truck, right in the back, and around he went and collected Bill also.
Bill Lester going to take his Toyota on pit road, see if they can do something to keep him out there. A lot of damage to the front of that truck.
We talked about what a tremendous break it was for Todd Bodine and Jack Sprague, Johnny Benson, all those guys that needed to stop again.
So this is the opportunity for those that weren't able to get in on our most recent caution. So caution number 8 comes out at Gateway International Raceway. Pit stops taking place. Again, Phil, you had mentioned the drivers that failed to come down this last or most recent caution had an opportunity now.
Let's see if we can take a look at what happened while we were away at commercial. Them trying to repair Bill Lester's truck. Here the leaders are on pit road. There's top of your screen, Todd Bodine, Jack Sprague, Johnny Benson, your top 3 Toyotas. All in for pit work. Ray, what went on down there, Ray?
I'll tell you what, Phil, this was unbelievable. Lots of stuff happening on pit road. Bobby Hamilton Jr. brought his 18 Fastenal Dodge in here, and they put fuel in it only. They wanted to have a fast pit stop. Just the opposite for Johnny Benson. Rick Wren, his crew chief, said, look, we've got to put 4 tires on this truck if we're going to try to win this race, and that's exactly what they did. Krista?
What a great stop for Todd Bodine, his crew, very excited. Just a slight air pressure adjustment for that truck. Jack Sprague, meanwhile, also making an air pressure adjustment and a track bar adjustment. I'm in the 30 pit right now. Mike Hillman, his crew chief, was very excited, praising his guys on that stop.
That's good, but he's got his work cut out for him. Kelly Sutton was the Aaron's Lucky Dog recipient, and so Kelly Sutton will get a lap back. Still being shown a lap down, though.
To Dennis Setzer, Ray talked about it on that most recent caution flag, said he was going to stay out. He inherited the lead. Let's see if we can talk to Dennis. We were going to try to talk to him earlier. Dennis Setzer, Phil Parsons, can you hear me?
In 14th, and Todd Bodine.
I didn't understand what you said about your right rear tire. I'm just asking if somebody could ask Rudiman about my right rear. It feels squishy.
And you hear Dennis Setzer talking about maybe a squishy right rear tire. Ray.
Hey guys, just wanted to tell you about that 85. You heard him out talking on the radio there, but I just talked to his crew chief, Eric Phillips, and Eric said fuel is not going to be an issue for us. That is no problem. We are going to make it the distance here. And remember, this is the exact same truck that Dennis used in 2005 at Milwaukee, and he dominated up there, which is another flat racetrack with big sweeping corners. So I believe that Dennis Setzer truly is in the catbird seat here. He is up front now, and we've talked all night long about how important track position is here at Gateway.
I tell you, Ray Dennis was complaining about his right rear tire may be soft. He wanted to get David Ruderman, the truck running second, to pull up beside him, and it looked maybe it might have been a little bit soft. It didn't look like it was completely flat down on the wheel, but he's going to find out quick as we're getting ready to restart this race. And if that tire is soft when he gets down to turn number 1, he's going to lose grip on the rear, and that truck's going to try to get sideways with him. But you see Rick Crawford pulling up beside him. Maybe Rick Crawford realizes that truck may be soft, or maybe he asked Rick Crawford to come look at it. Krista?
Want to talk about Rick Crawford's truck. He has been having a great night. He said on his radio he's just having some fun. They have a new spotter tonight, Calvin Humphreys. That's because your usual spotter Joel Edmonds is with his usual Cup team in Talladega. This spotter, Calvin Humphreys, has been very chatty with Rick Crawford. Rick seems to like him just fine. He praised him early in the race, and he's been doing a great job. Calvin Humphreys clearing the way for Rick Crawford.
Well, and the problem there with the 85 of Dennis Setzer, he brings the truck down pit road, and very unfortunate because we're about to restart this race. That means that David Ruderman will get the green flag when they come to the start-finish line. Ray Dunlap, what's going on with Dennis?
Well, they just didn't want to take a chance here of tearing up the race truck, so he's on his way down here to put tires on it, but they thought we were 1 lap away from the restart. Again, a little miscommunication here, but Setzer will give up that track position. He'll probably lose a lap here as these guys will go to work putting tires on it. They'll definitely do just right sides. He doesn't need 4, but Setzer gives up the lead to come to pit road as we're back to green flag. The guys head down the backstretch now. Now Setzer will not necessarily lose a lap here. He's going to get out ahead of them.
Ray, I think you're right. He's going to lose a tremendous amount of track position. Obviously, the whole length of the racetrack.
I think he's going to lose a lap too.
He's on the access road right now as the other trucks go into turn number 1. He's not going to be quite up to speed, I don't think, but
well,
he might be. I think he might stay out here. He needs another quick caution flag right now to try to get back around and regain his track position.
He's out in front of David Ruderman, so he is officially on the lead lap, but Ruderman is going to reel him in and try to get by him and put him that lap down.
Yeah, we're inside of 50 laps to go, and I don't think any one of the rest of these trucks are going to pit again, so Dennis Setzer probably is out of contention for the win, but if he could catch a quick caution flag, he could pass a lot of trucks as good as his truck is and try to get a pretty decent finish, but I think he's out of contention for the win.
Very unfortunate as we see side by side a little banging there and problems. Erin Crocker gets turned around, I believe. She is spun around, and that was 77 of Brendan Gaughan. Those two making hard contact as they were getting into turn 1.
A lot of damage to the Czech's Dodge of Erin Crocker.
Erin Crocker, you see the damage on the back of that truck.
She'd stayed on the lead lap. She wasn't currently running in the top 20 position. She was running 17th at the time of that accident. She was doing really going to have her best career finish had she maintained a top 20 finish, but a lot of damage right now.
You had mentioned a quick caution. Well, that's about as quick as you can get a caution for Dennis Setzer, but obviously very unfortunate for Erin Crocker.
I was still talking about it when it happened, so it was about as quick as it could be.
See some debris there still in turn 1. We take a look. This is the tail end of it.
Craig Kinzer got a piece of that with the 46 Centrex Chevrolet. Tough break for Erin. Trying to gain experience here. She was doing a good job. Here we see it. There's Brendan on the inside. Looks like Brendan didn't quite drive down to the bottom of the racetrack, and Erin thought he was going to take the normal groove down to the bottom. They made a little contact entering the corner. Again, that's a very vulnerable spot right there. You enter that corner so hard, on the brakes so hard. She slid up into the outside wall. This has been a pretty tough year so far for the rookies. This is through 4 races this year. Look at the bottom, Eric Darnell. He's had a 9th place average. Obviously, that's going to hurt that tonight with his accident, but the rookies are really struggling. The best rookie average finish right now, Kyle Krisloff, 21.5.
We talked about how good of a rookie class we thought this was going to be, but this just really proves how good the competition is in the Truck Series.
Well, it really is, and some of those rookies have had some bad luck too. Eric Almirola had a certain top 10 finish at Atlanta, ended up getting crashed on the very last lap, so there have been some bright spots. Again, Eric Darnell, until tonight, had a great record going this year, but these rookies, they're awfully talented rookies. They're going to turn this around. Krista, what's going on down on pit road?
A lot of damage on the 98 truck. Aaron Crocker has brought it in. You can see that the front's messed up, the back's messed up. The crew's got the tape. They're trying to patch it together as good as they can. This is a little bit of a change for Aaron Crocker in terms of this week, using a new team director. Patrick Donahue has come over, rejoined forces with Ray Evernham. Of course, Patrick Donahue used to work with Ray Evernham at Hendrick Motorsports. He came over from the 25 of Boston Reed. He is now the team director for Aaron Crocker, but not a good initiation for him with this team. A lot of damage to Aaron Crocker's number 98 Dodge.
Ray.
There's Dennis Sitzer. He came back on pit road. Remember, he was just about a lap down, but he caught that caution flag, was able to come back, do some pit work. He's going to restart this race at the very tail end because very few trucks took the opportunity to pit on this caution flag, but he's got a great truck. He's got a good shot at a good finish, but again, passing 24 trucks that are on the lead lap is going to be very, very difficult, even as good as Dennis's truck is.
Push start the 98 of Aaron Crocker. She'll make her way back out onto the track, but again, a lot of damage to that Cheerios number 98 Dodge.
They've got it patched up pretty well. We saw the back of that truck was very, very bent up, but they got that thing pushed down a little bit. She stayed on the lead lap. Great pit work by Patrick and Ronnie Hornaday and all the guys down there for Evernham Motorsports.
This is the 9th caution of the night. That ties the record for cautions at Gateway International Raceway. Ray Dunlap, I know you've got some words to say.
Oh, lots going on, Rick. What they did for Dennis Setzer was they put the right front from that set back on there. Remember, it was his right rear that he thought was squishy. They had put 2 tires on there, but the right front from that other set had the least number of laps on it. So with him catching this lucky break here of getting back in the back of the pack here, they wanted to have the best tires on it they could.
Ray, was that right rear tire flat that Dennis thought?
Yes, it was, Phil, and so they were very happy that they came down, even though they were giving up that track position. They didn't want to tear up that truck because, like I say, it's one of the ones that they really like.
Well, we saw a situation earlier when Mike Skinner called in. He thought he had a right front tire right front tire going down, and unfortunately stayed out one more lap, blew that right front tire out, and took himself out and a couple other trucks. Dennis Setzer felt like he had a squishy tire. Before they restarted this race, he came to pit road, obviously did not damage his truck, caught a caution, back on the lead lap. So he has the opportunity to have a good finish. Unfortunately, Mike Skinner's in the garage area.
Only 45 laps to go too, and that's really not enough time if Dennis Setzer wants to make his way up to the front, because there's a lot of trucks that are very, very strong in front of him that he would have to work his way past. Ray Dunlap.
I wanted to give you an update here on some fuel mileage. We were wondering, of course, every one of these caution laps certainly helps us, but Terry Cook's Power Stroke Diesel Ford is running in 3rd position. They're good to go on fuel, and the same thing is true for the number 75 Spears Manufacturing Chevrolet of Eric Almirola. Those 2 guys here, I'm checking on my end of pit road just to make sure. Crew chiefs are saying, don't worry about it, we're okay, we're going to make it to the end.
Well, making it to the end is about 44 laps is what's left of this one. Bless you.
Thank you.
Up next, trading paint. Mikey Waltrip trades paint, trades opinions, and trades barbs with a selected number of motorsports media. This week, it's Ed Hinton from the Tribune Company, and he'll try to trade paint with Mikey. And that, again, coming up next on Speed.
There's Kip McCord right there. That's Timothy Peters, crew chief. They had such optimism for a good run. Timothy's out on the racetrack, but 63 laps down. We saw a little while ago when we flashed back and saw that the accident where Joey Miller got slid off the access road trying to enter the pits and through the grass, and forced Steve Park in the 59 truck up into Timothy. Made some pretty hard contact with the outside wall, and spent 64 laps in the garage area repairing it.
7 trucks being shown off of the racetrack and off the pace. Bill Lester, Eric Darnell, Kerry Earnhardt, Kyle Krisaloff, Marcus Ambrose, Mike Skinner, and Robert Richardson off of the racetrack right now. Lights are out again on that pace truck, meaning this time by we will go back to racing. Again, it's David Rudiman out in front. 4 drivers have been in front of this field. Todd Bodine has led the most laps at 52. Rudiman the second most laps, 34 laps for him. Ted Musgrave early on, the dominant truck, led 28 laps, and then Dennis Setzer just led 3 before his problems with the low tire.
Got a great. How about Terry Cook? He's won here before. His crew chief Dennis Conner has won here before with Jack Sprague. Good combination. Got a great run going. Eric Almirola. We talked about how the rookies have struggled other than Eric Darnell. Eric's certainly one of those rookies. Again, he had a great run going in Atlanta. Looked like he had a top 10 finish. Got involved in a late race, last lap accident. He's got a top 5 going. And rookie Bobby East in the 5th position. Had a good run at Martinsville. Finished 13th last time out.
Well, in the top 10, we've still got Boston Reed and Chad McCumbee, also rookies. They're 7th and 8th right now. The green flag comes back out. We're back underway.
That 25 of Boston Reed probably has had more bad luck this year than anybody. The first 2 races, he was absolutely a victim of circumstances. Let's see if he can hang in there and get him a good finish.
Side by side, we saw the 46 of Craig Kinzer running on the inside preferred line.
And we've got some great trucks coming from the back. There's the 18 of Bobby Hamilton Jr. on the inside. Right behind him, the 30 of Todd Bodine.
And his teammate right behind him, Ted Musgrave.
There's Chad McCumbee. Bobby Hamilton Jr. makes a nice move to get on the inside of Chad McCumbee. He's done a good job, stayed on the lead lap. He's being shown in the top 10 right now.
Bobby Hamilton Jr. going across the start-finish line just ahead of Chad McCumbee, so he is being scored in the 8th position. Easy for me to say.
We saw Jack Sprague take a peek down at the inside to make it 3 wide on Ted Musgrave entering turn 1 that last lap. Fortunately, backed off, didn't force the issue.
Again, the class of the field early on was Ted Musgrave and Todd Bodine. Now those 2 trucks, because of a mishap more or less, they were supposed to come in, miscommunication, didn't come in on a certain caution, and so they have been relegated to the back. Now they're 10th and 11th. Oh, look at this. The pit crews are starting to celebrate, thinking that the possibility exists for calling this one on rain.
David Ruderman's pit crew is celebrating. I'll guarantee you Todd Bodine's pit crew is not celebrating, nor is Ted Musgrave's pit crew. All those drivers that didn't pit when they had the opportunity right now, look at them say it's raining. It's raining everywhere.
They're doing rain dances right now in the number 17 pits, saying, come on, rain. But I'm sure that David Ruderman would want to finish this one out. The scheduled 160 laps and win this one outright.
No, he wouldn't. he would be tickled to death.
You think he'd love to take it right here?
He would be tickled to death, wouldn't he, Krista?
Guys, they are definitely doing a rain dance. Up on the wall, you see Joel, you see Travis, you see Ray, all the guys down here in the 17. And you know, David Ruderman is still a bit tight. They made all those changes on that last stop. They freed it up quite a bit, but he's still a little tight. But that's only, of course, when he's in traffic. If he can keep himself up front, especially if Mother Nature helps him out of it, David Ruderman could walk away with his first Gateway win.
Well, Craig Kinzer just got out of the groove a little bit and had to slow way up. We see a couple trucks getting by him. And again, that was just it was a sprinkle. It was a little bit harder than a sprinkle, but now it looks as though it stopped or at least subsided a little bit. So moisture is in the air, but right now maybe not affecting the track so much that NASCAR needs to throw a caution.
There's Bobby East right there, the 21. There's our leader, David Ruderman, the 17 Toyota Tundra. You know, Darrell's in Talladega, and he's happy watching this race. And Darrell's doing a rain dance, too, from Talladega.
Well, they may get rain in Talladega as well, and so I'm sure nobody around him wants to do it. Oh, we've got a problem. Spinning, that is
David Reagan.
Number 6 of David Reagan. Boy, unfortunate.
Yeah, David was running in the 13th position, having a pretty good outing. A lot of damage to the front of that Scott's Ford.
Record number of cautions tonight.
Great break again for people like Jack Sprague and Todd Bodine, Ted Musgrave. That just allows them to close up. They're not going to pit, just allows them to close up with the field. They're back in the top 10 right now. Todd's in the 7th spot, Musgrave's 8th, Bobby Jr.'s 9th, and Jack Sprague's in 10th. Let's see if we can take a look at what happened to David Reagan. Looks like they were going down in turn number 1. You see David's on the outside right there. He comes down. Looks like he's going to make some contact with the 11 of David Starr. Again, it doesn't take much, as we saw the last time, the most recent caution flag. It doesn't take a whole lot.
It's right along with Dennis Setzer now.
He's on the inside of the 04 of Scott Lagasse. He sees the trouble ahead of him. He knows that those trucks that have trouble are going to slide out to the outside, so he knew the bottom of the racetrack would be clean. There's Bobby Jr. Jack Sprague looks to the inside. Right behind them, you see the 6 of David Reagan get turned around going in turn number 1. Ray?
Hey guys, just a real quick side note here. Realize how important the spotters are, especially at a racetrack like this. And we talk about it a lot. When Mark Martin is driving this truck, of course, he has Bobby Hudson, who is his Nextel Cup spotter with him. Chris Becker is filling in this weekend working with David Reagan. But a lot of talk here on the radio about how you've got to work with these rookies, not only the drivers, but also rookie spotters, and have them help out a little bit. They felt like possibly this altercation down here on the racetrack might have been avoidable.
We're under caution because of this problem right here with the number 6, and this is how all of that damage took place.
Made a little contact before they entered the corner, and around he went.
Hey, Michael, look who gets the lucky dog, the Aaron's lucky dog. It's Craig Kinzer for the 3rd time tonight.
Let's see if we can talk to Ted Musgrave. We're getting ready to come green. Ted Musgrave, Phil Parsons, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Phil.
All right, Ted, you've got about 34 laps to go. You're up in 8th. You got your teammate who's been awfully good today. Can you guys get back to the front?
Yeah, I believe so. Todd and I are working our way up. We had a late pit stop there for some tires and played a different strategy, but his truck's just a little better than mine, but hopefully we get a 1-2 finish out of this thing here.
All right, you know how to win here. You won twice, so good luck and get ready for this restart.
All right, Phil. Talk to you later on.
You know, he can only win from the pole. I mean, he started 2nd tonight. You can't win if you're not on the pole, right?
Well, I wouldn't count him out of this race, but he's got his team. But the biggest obstacle he has right now is his teammates in front of him. If they have enough time in 34 laps of green flag racing to get back to the front, he's got to contend with his teammate, who's been awfully good tonight.
Very good. We joke a little bit. That's an amazing feat that Ted Musgrave has won twice here from the pole. David Rudeman out front will take the green flag. Rick Crawford right behind him. Terry Cook, Eric Almirola, and Bobby East will round out your top 5. Three wide on the restart.
Looked like David Starr was on the inside again of a 3-wide situation. You know, Bobby East had some great pit strategy, and I tell you, he's done a pretty good job. He restarted this race in the top 5, the most recent cars of black, and he stayed there. He's got a great truck, and he's doing a terrific job.
Here comes Johnny Benson, 23, that red 23. Just in front. Oh, we got another spinner. That's Steve Park spinning around again.
Steve's going to keep it out of the outside wall. We're staying up. Caution flag out. I thought we were going to stay green for a moment.
He was able to get it spun around and pointed in the right direction, but obviously they didn't want to take a chance on somebody else getting into him.
Another good break. You may say that these caution laps are hurting people like Todd Bodine and Ted Musgrave, who have to pass a lot of trucks. Well, they were able to make a pass. They both got by Matt Crafton, and so now they close back up again. They're in the 6th and the 7th position. They're getting closer and closer. Just over 30 laps to go.
I think that's enough time. Let's take a look again at why our 11th caution has come out.
See, Steve, it looks like he got a little contact from the 33 of Ron Hornaday that turned him around. He kept it out of the outside wall. Good job of driving by Steve.
Tight confines here at Gateway International Raceway. We take a look at what Dennis Setzer had seen.
Yeah, Ron went all over the rumble strips down there and then slid off him when he did. He made just a little bit of contact with Steve. It was certainly unintentional, but allowed Dennis Setzer to get by a couple trucks anyway. We talked about Dennis Setzer not going to be a contender to win because of that flat tire. Well, he's back up into the 16th spot, and there's 25 trucks on the league lap, so he's passed a lot of trucks.
And unfortunate David Reagan, we saw his crew pushing that Scott's number 6 Ford. Looked as though they were going to take that behind the wall.
It's the 16 of Mike Bliss, the TKO Graphics IWX Chevrolet right in front of him. They're 15th and 16th right now. 25 of Boston Reed right in front of Mike Bliss. Again, a good run for Boston Reed. I'd love to see him be able to hang in there and get him a good top 20 finish.
Look at the debris on the front of the 11 of David Starr. You would think the wind would have blown anything like that off of this racetrack.
It hung on the hood pin right there, and it may stay there a while. These trucks reach speeds of upwards of 160 miles an hour on the straightaway, and so we're going to get a good test for that bag.
Yeah, well, then tack on another 30 miles an hour because of the wind.
How about Eric Almirola also? A great top 5 run going.
Great run.
Had some bad luck this year. In the Spears Manufacturing Chevrolet, Dave McCarty very, very high on Eric. Said he gives a lot of good feedback, good race car driver. There's Bobby East, the 21 truck.
Like
Open wheel background, only 2 or 3 starts ever in a truck series, in a stock car.
Exactly. And we talked to him and he said, you know, I've never been on this racetrack, so I really need to get some practice time. Well, it worked out. However much time he's had, he's sitting in 5th position right now, so a great run for Bobby East.
And there is the 30 of Todd Bodine lurking back just outside the top 5 and 6th. He's getting ready for a restart. It's time to go. 30 laps to go.
David Rudiman getting on the accelerator. The green flag flies. We're back underway at Gateway. Again, 30 laps of racing to go. Todd Bodine, Ted Musgrave early on, very dominant trucks. Rudiman has led 47 laps. Todd Bodine 52 laps so far. Now Todd Bodine trying to make the pass.
Just
on
like
Bobby East.
Just like he's done it so many times. He gets a great run off the corner, pulls up beside the truck down the back straightaway, beats him down to the next corner. He's going to get Bobby East. Now here comes Ted Musgrave in the 9.
Teammate Ted Musgrave said to us, I'm looking for a 1-2 finish. He doesn't think he has as good a truck as his teammate Todd Bodine, but he's obviously got an awfully good one because he's been out front tonight.
There's the 88, the yellow Menard Chevrolet of Matt Crafton right behind Bobby East right now. He's had a great run. He's been in the top 10 4 out of the 5 times he's been here.
Todd Bodine decides to go to the high side of Eric Almirola. He ducks back in behind the 75 now. Matt Crafton with a good run. He's currently in 8th position. Krista, how's he doing?
Yeah, Matt Crafton, one of those guys that is so glad we got that hour practice in today because he said they needed to make all sorts of changes. 4 springs, 2 shocks. He said they threw everything they had at the truck and it is definitely working for him tonight. Hey, a fun tidbit too. The chassis of this truck, it's from 1997. It's one of Matt Crafton's favorites. He said it's an old Richard Childress chassis, one of the old Goodwrench trucks. Matt Crafton is sure loving it tonight. Remember, he's coming off all that momentum with that 3rd place finish at Martinsville.
Krista, guess what? Todd Bodine, Ted Musgrave just got another spot. They both got by Eric Almirola. They move up into the 4th and the 5th positions. They're coming.
They are marching around this track. It's Toyota in front. That's David Rudiman out in front of Rick Crawford and Terry Cook, 2 Fords, and then the Toyota twosome of Todd Bodine and Ted Musgrave making their way up toward the front.
There's Todd right there. He's about 2 seconds behind. He ran the fastest lap last time around on the racetrack, just about a half a tenth faster than David Rudiman. He's a little over 2 seconds behind. He's got a couple trucks to try to get by. Here's one of them right here, Terry Cook.
Well, Ray, what do you think about that dynamic duo of Todd and Ted?
Well, it's TNT, Rick, and that's the Germain Super Team. We knew they were going to be contenders, and yes, I think they've got a very good shot at finishing 1-2 tonight. Now, here's the deal. Roush Racing has done this 10 times in series history, finishing 1 and 2 with teammates, and Ultra Motorsports, they've done it 5 times. Guess who was driving for Ultra each one of those?
Ted Musgrave.
Yeah, you got it. So Ted's got a little familiarity of doing this 1-2 team thing.
Terry Cook still running very strong.
Ted Musgrave able to get by him. The Power Stroke Diesel Ford. Terry Cook's got a good top 5 run going, but Ted and Todd are on their way. Todd being first.
Yep. A lot of T's up in this top 5, actually. Todd Bodine, Ted Musgrave, and Terry Cook.
David Rudiman got a little bit over 1 second lead right now on Rick Crawford. Todd was again the fastest truck this last lap. About a tenth of a second faster than David Rudiman. He's got 25 more laps to do it.
I think the crews have given up on the rain dance idea. Now they're just hoping that their driver can stay out in front of Rick Crawford, Todd Bodine, and Ted Musgrave. But Bodine and Musgrave are marching toward the front.
Bodine was 4/10 of a second faster than David Rudiman that lap. Got to Rick Crawford though, and it slowed his momentum a little bit. He needs to try to work his way by Rick Crawford and chase down Rudiman.
And Todd Bodine was only 1/100th of a second off his fastest lap of the entire night.
Yeah, these trucks are really moving out now. David Rudiman ran his fastest lap of the race inside the last 5. Here goes Todd.
Todd trying to take away the second position. They're side by side. It's Crawford on the outside, Todd Bodine on the inside as they cross the start-finish line. Bodine being scored just in front of Crawford as they went by the start-finish line, but Crawford took the position back, but went into 1 too hard, got up high, and that will allow Todd Bodine and Ted Musgrave to get by him.
What a veteran move by Todd Bodine. He backed off a little bit early as we see Kerry Earnhardt, the 13, looks like he might have some engine trouble. Todd backed off early. Rick went in the corner a little bit too hard, slid up the racetrack and allowed Todd and Ted to get by. Let's take a look at it. Watch Todd. It looks like he's going to drive beside him. He backs way off. Rick overdrives that corner, cannot keep the truck to the bottom. Todd, Ted, and Todd go by.
TNT making their way up toward the front. David Rudiman in a Toyota doesn't want to look in his rearview mirror because he's got a whole rearview mirror full of Germain Racing. We'll find out. Can Todd Bodine and Ted Musgrave get by David Rudiman? We'll find out after this break. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series on Speed is presented by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge, brought to you in part by Valvoline, tested on the track, trusted on the road. And by Suzuki, maker of performance-driven motorcycles, scooters, and all-terrain vehicles. Speaking of scooting, Todd Bodine and Ted Musgrave have scooted their way up toward David Rudiman, and they're all over the back of him.
They caught him so quick, and then once he got there, Todd wasn't able to do anything. Ted actually looked to the inside of Todd going in one that last time.
The battle between Ted and Todd, and throw into David.
Todd, look how good his truck through the center of the corner right there, but loses his momentum. Watch, here comes Ted. He was even better through the center of the corner. They're able to get on the throttle quicker than David, but David stays on the bottom. They're not able to do it quite as good as they've been able to do it to everybody else tonight.
David Rudiman hugging the bottom of the racetrack. He knows that's the preferred line. He is going to make Todd Bodine try to pass him on the outside if he passes him. Now he tries to make the run on the inside as they go down the backstretch. Oh, and a caution comes out.
Now that is not a caution that Todd and Ted wanted to see. They've got to David Rudiman. They're right on his bumper. They didn't want to see that caution. They want as many green flag laps as they can get to try to pass him. It looked like Todd's truck wasn't as good once he got to David Rudiman. It looks like maybe he picked up a little aero push or something, because he had slowed down. He had run not within a half a second as fast as what he had run as he was catching David Rudiman.
We think that Timothy Peters had spun. We can ride along with Timothy Peters. Let's find out if it was Timothy Peters.
Timothy driving down the corner, driving down turn number 3. Oh, trouble right in front of Timothy Peters. That's the 08 right there, Boris Jurkovic. So Timothy just did a great job avoiding that.
And he gave us a great shot of who actually brought that caution.
Good job, Timothy. Good job.
We're closing in on the finish of this race. That's Boris Jurkovic. He brought out our most recent caution, caution 12. Again, we're in new territory at Gateway. The record for cautions here before was 9th. Now we are at the 12th caution of the night. And it doesn't look as though rain is going to affect this race, as we have just 17 laps to go.
Was shaping up for a great shootout here. David Rudiman didn't look like he was as good as Todd Bodine and Ted Musgrave, but once they got there, they weren't able to do anything with him. He's got the lead, and he's got the groove. If he can stay on the bottom of the racetrack. Todd's been so good through the center of the corner. It means he gets on the throttle just a little bit before David Rudiman, but once he gets exiting the corner, it looks like maybe you have to pedal a little bit, because he's not making the ground up that he was on some of the other trucks.
Mike Hillman Jr., crew chief for Todd Bodine, up on top of the war wagon, watching his driver work his way around this racetrack.
There's Jason Overstreet, David Rudiman's crew chief.
He looks calm.
He looks pretty calm. They were all doing a rain dance here about 30 laps ago.
Yeah, they really wanted it to end then. They may have seen the march that Bodine and Musgrave were putting on.
Yeah, this would not be Jason's first win. He got a win with David Rudiman at Nashville last year with a great job.
Won the guitar, coveted guitar when you win at Nashville. Krista.
Guys, down here in David Rudiman's pit, his crew chief Jason Overstreet telling David just to stay cool and calm on this restart. Well, that's a given, right? Of course we know that, but he's also telling him to think big picture. The points, of course. If Todd and Ted can catch him, if they have the better trucks, Jason's reminding his driver not to race him too hard. Don't go crazy. Drop back in line. Remember, they're 4th in points right now. They are definitely thinking championship. It's not even too early. We're only early in the season, and they're already thinking big picture. Of course, with David Rudiman, though, he wants the win.
Krista, that's what I dislike about the point standings. Here we are, David Ruderman, he's won one NASCAR race in his career at Nashville last year, and they're talking about the big picture, talking about if they don't race him too hard. He should race him as hard as he can until his tongue hangs out. He needs to get this win. We'll worry about the points later.
Exactly. The points will fall as they may. Aaron's lucky dog going to the 98 of Aaron Crocker, and so Aaron will get a lap back onto the lead lap.
Up in the top 25.
I had mentioned the last time David Ruderman found victory lane, it was back in Nashville a year ago. His team owner, Darrell Waltrip, there to watch that win. Driving the NTN Bearings number 17. First career win for David Ruderman, and there was a lot of celebration that day.
There's Darrell holding the guitar, handing it to David Ruderman.
David Ruderman, probably one of the tougher drivers I've ever seen on himself. Always nitpicking what took place during that race. If he finishes second, he's like, well, I screwed up and I should have done this and I would have won the race. But very, very strong competitor. Great competitor in the Truck Series.
He's a breath of fresh air in this series, really in all of racing. Good guy, and you love to see people like that do well, but I don't want to see him not race Todd Bodine and Ted Musgrave hard. I want his tongue to be hanging out at the end of this race, trying to keep these guys behind him.
Well, I'll tell you what, if he's already thinking about a championship, he better think about the competitors that he's got to race for that championship, and those two guys are right behind him. Todd Bodine and Ted Musgrave are going to be sitting 1 and 2 in the point standings at the conclusion of this race. It's just it's the determination of which one's going to be 1 and which one is going to be 2. Who's going to be number 1 at Gateway? Well, right now, David Ruderman wants to hold off Todd Bodine and Ted Musgrave. He's doing a good job so far.
What a good run again through the center of the corner. Todd had such a run on him. David pulled down to block him. Todd's going to drive by on the outside.
David Ruderman going to want to stay on the inside. That's the preferred line. It would be very difficult for Bodine to be able to hold on and pass him, but he is going to do it. Todd Bodine takes the top spot. Here comes Ted Musgrave on the outside.
You know, David Ruderman hated to see that caution flag. That's the most vulnerable time, right after a restart, and unfortunately it cost him 2 spots.
Here comes Rick Crawford as well, setting his sights on David Ruderman. Ruderman doesn't want to drop back anymore, but Crawford right up on the back bumper of David Ruderman.
There's Terry Cook. Here comes Jack Sprague. He's had a great truck all night trying to work by Terry Cook. Looks like he's going to be able to do it.
Will take over the 5th position from Terry Cook.
There's Eric Almirola in the Spears Manufacturing Chevrolet number 75. Bobby Jr., the 18 Fastenal Dodge. What a great run he had out the corner. Pulls right up beside of Eric.
They're side by side. They go by the grandstand, the people on their feet cheering this one on. Todd Bodine, Ted Musgrave, 1 and 2. David Ruderman's dropped back to 3. Crawford 4. Jack Sprague in 5th.
Johnny Benson, the 23 Toyota, right behind Terry Cook right there.
Side by side, Bobby Hamilton Jr., Eric Almirola, also wanting to get in the mix. You see the 11 of David Starr coming up into this pack.
And Mike Bliss, the 16 truck, right behind 11 of David Starr. You see, there he is. What we used to see in that truck, red. Yeah. Look, 3 wide. Mike Bliss on the inside.
Bliss checking up. He's going to stay behind David Starr. Oh, but he might give him a little bump here.
Dennis Setzer, the number 85, right behind him. Flex Fuel Chevrolet. Remember what a great rebound he's made from that late flat tire.
He's side by side with Mike Bliss. Bliss in the new paint job there in the number 16.
You hear Dennis have to pedal the throttle. A very, very flat corner down there. Cannot use all the throttle off the corner.
Inside of 10 laps to go. Todd Bodine, Ted Musgrave battling up in the front.
Side by side, Dennis is not quite able to pull up beside Mike Bliss. Mike's going to hang on to the 11th spot right there.
Todd Bodine has a half a second lead on a teammate, Ted Musgrave. Now, Musgrave talked to us before this last restart, made the comment he didn't think he had as good a truck as Todd.
Good battle right there. There's Terry Cook running 6th, Johnny Benson 7th. There's Bobby Jr. in the 8th spot. Good run through the center of the corner for him. There's David Starr, the 11, right behind Bobby Jr. This is a great battle for 6th on back.
A big gap between Jack Sprague and Terry Cook. Almost 3 seconds between 5th and 6th. But again, it's very tight up front.
Johnny trying to work his way to the inside. Does. He was able to get on the throttle, center of the corner. Gets side by side with the 10 right off turn number 4. See if he can beat him down to turn number 1. Remember, he's got to be a little bit careful driving down the corner.
8 laps of racing to go. It's Bodine, Musgrave, Rudiman, Crawford, Sprague, your top 5. Then it's Benson, Cook, Hamilton Jr., Starr, and Almirola, your top 10.
Johnny takes over the 6th spot. There's Bobby Jr. looking at Terry Cook. Go back up front with our leader. There's Todd Bodine, the Lumber Liquidators Toyota.
Very comfortable lead. And we hear that, problems with Rick Crawford. The 14 of Crawford. He was running in 4th position. That will bring out our 13th caution.
They had a good battle going, Rick Crawford and Jack Sprague. I don't know if there was any contact. A lot of damage to the right side of Rick's truck. He made some pretty hard contact with the outside wall. What a horrible break. Rick Crawford had a late flat tire at Martinsville with a good top 10 run going. Spoiled this streak of top 10 finishes, and looks like he's going to have another tough break here at St. Louis. Let's go back here and take a look, Rick, at what happened.
A great battle between Jack Sprague and Rick Crawford.
Yeah, there's Jack on the inside, Rick on the outside. Let's see what happens. Jack clears him going down in the corner. Let's see if Rick cuts a tire down or something. Cuts a tire down, cuts a right front tire down. Had nothing to do with Jack Sprague passing him. Just a tough break for Rick Crawford.
Krista.
Yeah, guys, the 14 is going to be coming in. That is such tough luck for Rick Crawford. He had such a good truck. Of course, Jack Sprague, another good truck here. Jack Sprague has one here in the past. Rick Crawford has not. Of course, Todd Bodine and Ted Musgrave, the ones running up front. The crew up on the wall, waiting for their truck to come in, but a very rough break for Rick Crawford. Remember I said earlier tonight, he said on the radio, he was just having some fun. Well, unfortunately, the fun is over for this team.
Yeah, a lot of damage to the right front of that truck. Right front wheel not even moving, so he hit the wall pretty hard. Look, you would say fun, but then you look at Mike Hillman Jr. He doesn't have a smile on his face. The rest of his crew looking pretty excited about this.
Yeah, they know they have such a good truck tonight. It's nice when your only concern is your teammate right behind you. You know he's not going to do anything to mess you up. Now, it doesn't mean that Ted Musgrave's not going to try to pass Todd Bodine and win this race. And again, much like it was for David Rudiman, Todd Bodine's most vulnerable time is going to be on this restart. Ray?
I just want to tell you a quick story about Steve Germain, the owner here of Todd Bodine's truck. He is opening a brand new car dealership over in Bentonville, Arkansas, near the home of Walmart. And he was there today. And I promise you, Steve was on the phone about 30 different times today trying to get a hold of these guys to find out what the weather was going to do here in St. Louis, because he had to fly over here. I just asked him a minute ago, I said, were you concerned about the weather? He said, there's no way in the world I'm going to miss one of these races when I got Todd Bodine driving my truck.
Yeah, well, it was a good idea to come on over here from Arkansas, because I talked to Mike Hillman right before the race, and he told Steve, there's Steve right there, he said, if I was you, I think it's going to rain. I don't know that I would come. So Mike Hillman picked it wrong. He picked a good truck and a couple good teammates, but he picked the weather wrong. But fortunately, Steve Germain didn't listen to him.
You see on the top of the screen, 5 to go. When they come by the next time, 4 laps of racing to go. Now, 2 years ago, this was the site of the last ever multiple green-white checkered finishes in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. There were 4 of them that night. We have had 59 green-white checkered finishes in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, and I'm hoping that we don't see 60 tonight.
Yeah, because they're going to probably get this race restarted before we would have to go to a green-white checker. And I know Todd Bodine and Ted Musgrave don't want any part of a green-white checker if they can help it.
Lights still on the pace truck, meaning that next time by, we're expecting them to say 1 to go. Now, I would not rule out Jack Sprague. In 4th position, he's been running extremely well. And Jack Sprague is one of those competitors that if he can see the lead truck, if he's anywhere near the lead truck at the end of this thing, he's going after it.
Yeah, without a doubt. You see the points as of now. If the race ended right now, Todd Bodine would take over the lead. Pass his teammate. Ted would be 7 points back. Rudiman would move up to 3rd, Sprague to 4th, and David Starr to 5th. Remember, Mark Martin was our point leader coming into this race, and he's in Talladega. He did not run this race, will not run all the races.
by virtue of owner points. The starting grid was set today. David Reagan driving that number 6, the Jack Roush owned number 6 Ford, started on the pole, but it was Ted Musgrave on his outside, and then right behind him Todd Bodine. So your top 5 Toyotas. Again, Bodine, Musgrave, Rudeman, Sprague, and Benson. Again, right after tonight's show, coming up next, Mikey Waltrip trades paint and opinions and barbs with selected members of the motorsports media. This week it's Ed Hinton from the Tribune Company. He will try to trade paint and barbs and opinions with Mikey, and I know that's very, very difficult to do.
Yeah.
From experience.
That's right. That's right. We miss Mikey. This is the first race this year we've not had him up here with us.
Yep, sure do.
Hope he has a great run tomorrow at Talladega.
Wish him all the best, and it's about time for him to probably hit the sack.
Well, he's going to wait 4 more laps. I'm going to tell you right now.
We'll let him watch the end of this one. Here they come. Todd Bodine, Ted Musgrave, David Rudeman, Jack Sprague, Johnny Benson, your top 5. They're all on their feet. Field coming to the green flag when they go by the start-finish line. 3 laps of racing to go.
Good restart for Todd. Got him a truck length and a half over Ted, and see what Ted can do. Look at the run through the center of the corner. He got in the throttle before Todd, but wasn't able to maintain that off the corner.
Todd Bodine had put about a half a second between himself and teammate Ted Musgrave before the last caution came out, meaning he had a very, very strong truck. Rudeman wasn't able to give Musgrave any type of competition for that second spot, and it looks as though 4th Jack Sprague has not had as good of a restart as he would have wanted as they go by the start-finish line. 2 laps of racing to go.
And that pretty much means Jack Sprague is out of it here. There's no way he's going to get by Rudeman and get up to catch these guys unless we have another caution flag. But there's Johnny Benson. Good run for him. Toyotas 1st through 5th.
Terry Cook in 6th in his Ford. Bobby Hamilton Jr. in 7th with his Dodge. A great run for Bobby Hamilton Jr.
David Starr, his Toyota in 8th, and Mike Bliss up into the top 10. What a great run for Scott Lagasse Jr. in 10th, in just what, his 3rd truck, or 2nd or 3rd Truck Series race ever, and first time ever here at St. Louis. Good job.
Great run for Scott Lagasse Jr. The white flag has come out. Less than a half a lap. Todd Bodine, Ted Musgrave. Ted Musgrave called this earlier. He said, I'd love to see a 1st-2nd finish. We have problems on the backstretch. If the caution flag flies, that will end the race.
Scott Lagasse Jr.
We just talked about him.
Horrible. No caution flag.
No caution flag flies. The checkered flies. Todd Bodine wins the Dodge Dealers Ram Tough 200.
What a great job by Germain Racing once again. 1-2 finish. Todd Bodine, 2nd win of the year. Ted Musgrave 2nd for the 2nd race in a row.
The celebration taking place, and that's 1 and 2 from the same team, Germain Racing, with Todd Bodine and Ted Musgrave. Their teams celebrating together. A great finish.
What a good job there. See Jack Sprague pull up beside Todd to congratulate him.
Great run unofficially. Top 5, Todd Bodine, Musgrave, Rudeman, Sprague, and Benson. We're hearing that, oh, there's the problems for the 85. Dennis Setzer involved in that last incident that took place coming out of turn 2.
They were racing for a top 10 position. Last time by, Scott Lagasse Jr. was running 10th, Dennis 11th.
Fireworks are taking place here. The rain held off. Todd Bodine was able to hold off the competition. He led 66 laps at Gateway International Raceway, and now he'll celebrate just as his crew does on pit road. Todd Bodine celebrating career win number 9 in just his 45th start in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Speed's coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series post-race show is presented by Craftsman. Bodine and his crew making their way to victory lane. Ray Dunlap.
Hey guys, I'll tell you, this is a priceless look right here because as Todd Bodine was doing his burnouts on the front stretch, he came about this close to the wall, and I know that had you concerned, but I'm telling you what, a 1-2 finish, it has been an unbelievable start to the 2006 season.
I tell you what, that's the big thing about Germain Racing. We're one team with 2 trucks. I mean, we met right here in the middle. Our pit stalls were side by side. It was pretty lucky. Everybody goes to victory lane. Everybody works on both trucks. I just got to thank Liquid Lumber Daters and Germain Motor Company for this Toyota Tundra run awesome tonight.
All right, Mike Hillman Jr. goes celebrate. He's off to find Todd Bodine, and he's going to give him a few lessons about that burnout thing so he's not quite so nervous.
Well, fireworks continue. I've got to help Mike Hillman Jr. out there. It's Lumber Liquidators. I know he's
a tongue twister.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Todd Bodine, unofficial results. Again, winning his second race of 2006.
Good top 10 runs for David Starr and Mike Bliss.
Craftsman finishing 11th today. Kelly Sutton 19th.
Chad McCumbee with a good run at top 15 and 13th. Boston Reed finally had a little luck and finished 16th, his best career finish.
Best career finish. Scott Lagasse, we talked about how well he was running, then problems on that last lap.
Along with Dennis Setzer, who finished 23rd, the last truck on the lead lap.
Chris DeVota.
Well, the fans who waited out the weather, both here in St. Louis and at home, were certainly treated to quite a show. Todd Bodine putting up the big 2, baby. That's his second win this year, and it's just his second start here at Gateway. Todd, now I know, were you worried there a little bit? You guys might have shot yourself in the foot when you guys didn't come down pit road, or did you have it figured out all along?
I didn't have it figured out. Mike Jr. did a great job making the calls. Him and Senior talked it over and figured it was too early to do it. We needed to be there at the end. How about this Germain race team? 1-2. I am so proud of this group of guys. They work hard. They work as one team with 2 trucks on the track. It showed up tonight. These guys are the greatest right here. How about these fans coming back, raining, stuck it out with us?
They certainly did. And how about you, now the points leader? That's something, it's amazing because with all your wins and all your momentum last year, you've never been the points leader in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. Are you going to enjoy that or what?
No, not at all. Can't rest on that. Teddy's right there. There's too many good trucks here. This is an incredible series, incredibly competitive every week. We got this Toyota Tundra right. I mean, Mike Senior, Mike Jr., Tom, they do a great job, man. They just give us the trucks to race with, and we get to go out and have fun.
All right, his second win of the year, his 9th career win in the series. The gateway to the West is the gateway to the points lead for Todd Bodine.
Speed's coverage of the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series post-race show is brought to you by Craftsman. Craftsman tools are the official tools of NASCAR. Craftsman at Sears.
Reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.
Again, Todd Bodine winning tonight at St. Louis. At the end of the race, we talked about the wreck that took place. There's Scott Lagasse Jr. And you see Eric Almirola getting into the back of Dennis Setzer in that 85. That created a lot of smoke on the backstretch as they came across the start-finish line. It was Todd Bodine, Ted Musgrave 1 and 2 on this race. They're also 1 and 2 in the point standings after 5 races. Again, our next race taking place on May 19th. That's at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Again, bonus coverage. You'll see qualifying earlier on the schedule for that race. So exciting racing taking place moving to Charlotte. Exciting racing taking place in St. Louis, Missouri as Germain Racing takes 1 and 2 in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. It's Todd Bodine.